We good, Madam Clerk? Good morning. Tampa City Council held this day on February 2nd, 2023 is now in session. Chief Bennett, would you like to give us the invocation, please? Thank you. If everyone could please rise for the invocation, please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good morning, Tampa. John Bennett, Chief of Staff. Thank you for this opportunity this morning to celebrate our community with Black History Month, support our leadership in the public, our personnel, our partner communities, and our policymakers as we go through this council agenda today in support of community sustainability and resiliency with the right level of service at every doorstep. Let us focus on the best for the most, starting with the least of these. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Roll call, please.
Carlson.
Here.
Vieira. Maniscalco.
Here.
Pertek. Here. Goose.
Here.
Miranda.
Here.
And Citro.
I am here as well.
We have a physical quorum.
Thank you very much. I will entertain a motion to adopt the minutes from our January 10th and our evening session on January 12th and the regular session of January 19th. Motion is made by Councilman Goods, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor? Aye. Is there any opposition? Let the record reflect that those minutes have been adopted. Mr. Shelby.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the City Council. Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney. Very briefly, I'd like Council to make a motion to waive the rules to allow the continued use of CMT. The instructions are available on the City Council's webpage at tampa.gov/City Council.
We have a motion made by Councilman Good, seconded by Councilman Miranda, was it? Maniscalco, I'm sorry. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposed? Let the record reflect that the motion has passed. All right, let's go through the approval of the agenda with the addendums first. How's about that? We have a walk-on from, I believe, Mr. Cole Travis. Oh, there you are, Chief. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd ask to be joined by Mrs. Travis as we have some amendments, and if the sound room could check on that feedback for everybody, we'd appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, if I can ask just for clarification.
Mr. Shelby.
Is this a review of the agenda and the addendum? Subsequent to that, you go into the subject matter? So it's just for approval rather than get into the item right now? Or is that your intent?
No, we're just going
No,
through the
no,
agenda.
no
item.
item. We're just trying to go through the agenda approval.
Understood. Thank you for that clarification.
So I will allow Mrs. Travis to talk through the walk-on, and I believe she's offering to make a recommendation on items 58 to 71 based on their similar content.
Sure. Good morning, Council. Nicole Travis, Administrative Development and Economic Opportunity. Thank you, Chief. A couple items. The walk-on is a resolution to approve the First Amendment for a sales contract for property in Channelside. I'm asking if I can do that under the administrative update purchase.
Second?
A motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Goods. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. Also, there's been a significant amount of discussion and questions regarding the development agreements related to items 58 through 71. I've explained it to you guys through your briefing, but I think for the public, they need to understand why we're making this recommendation. So I respectfully request that we could pull those off and perhaps have that discussion with item number 14 when we're talking about housing.
So moved.
And that was 58 through 71, correct?
That's correct, sir.
We have a motion made by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Goods. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposed? The record reflect the motion is passed.
Thank you, sir. And one last item, item number 78. In the last 24 hours, we've gotten some questions about this contract. If you would allow us to continue this item to February 16th, it would allow us to go back and work on this contract and make any adjustments that's needed, please. That's
Which
item
agenda item is that? I'm sorry.
78, please.
78.
So moved.
I'm sorry?
February.
February 16th.
Motion made by Councilman Goods, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Let the record reflect the motion is passed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We will have a brief administrative update in a second or two. Agenda item number 4, that is a resolution. Agenda item number 5 is also a resolution. Agenda item number 6, Councilman Maniscalco.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Very important.
Thank you very much. Agenda item number 7, Councilman Carlson.
Yes, please.
Okay. Again, you have agenda item number 8, Councilman Carlson.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Councilman Goods, you have agenda item number 9.
Yes.
And I believe, however, that is going to be asking for a continuance. Ms. Travis, agenda item number 9.
Yes, sir. There's a request for continuance that was submitted by Parks and Rec Director Sharisha Hills to April 6th.
I spoke
And
to her
that's-
about that.
Yes, and so Deputy City Attorney Morris Massey has been working on an overall policy. I'll let him speak to that. We think it's our recommendation that we get through that policy first before we make this.
Right, there's a motion pending for us to come back on the 16th with an ordinance codifying the honorary naming process. We originally had an executive order. We're trying to turn that into an ordinance so that city council and the mayor both have equal say in honorary naming proposals. So what we're trying to do is make sure that we get the ordinance in place and follow that process. That's the reason for the requested
So
extension.
move for continuance.
We have a motion for continuance of file number CM 22-78636 by Councilman Goods, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposition? The motion passes. Agenda item number 10, Councilman Carlson.
Yes, please.
Okay.
That was, I think they wanted to continue.
No.
Not that
I talked to Sharisha, and we said she's not here, right? Can I continue that to,
Mr. Chairman?
Councilman Goods, you're
I did
recognized.
speak with, I think she was talking about making sure when the plan comes back, the plan is due to come back after a couple of community engagement events, and then they'll come back with the overall plan to council for any more ideas or deletions to the overall strategic plan.
And I think too, again, John Bennett, Chief of Staff, to augment Councilman Good's points, It should align very well with your next capital improvement update, which is the precursor to the next budget. So all those things should come together well.
Yeah, so just for now, I'd like to make a motion to continue to March 16th, and if we need to move it again, we can.
Second.
A motion made by Councilman Carlson, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Let the record reflect that the motion passes. Let's see, Councilman Maniscalco, number 11.
Yes, if I could have Mr. Bede, although he did transmit a written report, the neighborhood is very, very concerned about this, and I would like him to just briefly discuss it.
Thank you. Councilman Carlson, you have agenda item number 12.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Agenda item number 13, yes, I would like to hear that. I made that a motion.
Yes,
That-
so moved that we heard here, it's very important.
Okay. Agenda item number 14, I believe.
Yes.
That is Councilwoman Hurtax.
Yes.
Okay, agenda item number 15, which is Councilman Maniscalco.
Yes.
16, which is Councilman Vieira, who is not here. He will be joining us shortly. Ms. Travis, I think that he wanted to continue this. I'm not sure, he's not here right now.
Well, we provided, I don't think, I
No.
don't.
To the 17th of March.
I
March
think
2nd?
it's a combination, obviously, of the user department, T&I, and I believe the vendor is here as well. So I
Then we
would
will-
recommend
then
to
we
go
will hear
forward.
that one.
There's a lot of interest in this item.
The agenda item number 17.
That was the one.
That wants to be continued, I believe, until March 23rd. Okay.
Move to continue item 17 on March 23rd.
We have a motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any objection? Motion passes. Agenda item number 18,
Yes, this is going to be continued to February 16th.
16th. That's a motion made by Councilwoman Hurtak, seconded by
Second.
Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposition? Let the record reflect the motion passes. Councilwoman Hurtak, you're recognized.
I want to pull item number 82.
Is that the sidewalk?
Yes. Yeah, it's a
Second.
sidewalk discussion. I've already talked to Mr. Bede about this, so
Second.
wherever it might fit in best, maybe with
The-
what he's talking about
Madam
before.
Clerk and I have
Yeah.
decided we'll make that agenda item number 20 under staff reports, if that is
Great.
all right with you, Councilwoman.
That's wonderful, thank
Okay,
you.
we have a motion made by Councilwoman Hurtak, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any objection? Let the record reflect the motion passes. Mr. Shelby, I believe you wanted to also discuss the resolution to new business?
Yes, this is on the addendum, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney. I've gotten some good feedback on that matter. There are some things that do need clarification, and Councilman Vieira did make the good suggestion to talk to each council member individually. There are certain decision points. There's going to be more coming back on March 2nd. That was council's direction at the workshop, so I'd like this to be continued to that, and I'll bring it back as a full package and be able to meet with each council member.
And please, which agenda item was that?
That's the walk-on on the addendum, the resolution, file number CM23-79785.
Okay, thank you. And you were asking,
I'm asking for March 2nd. That's the correct date, Madam Clerk, is that right? Thank you.
I will entertain a motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposition? Let the record reflect that the motion has passed.
Thank you.
I believe that does clear up our agenda for now.
Move to approve the agenda and the addendum.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Goods. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposition? Let the record reflect that the motion has passed. Agenda item number 1, which is file number CM22-78637.
Could I
The
say-
Florida Orchestra is here for us. Councilman Carlson.
Yes, thank you so much to my colleagues for allowing us to have the orchestra spend a few minutes just giving us an update. We're lucky to have such a high-quality orchestra in this area. They have very strong attendance, and they go between Tampa and St. Pete, and I think we're proud to have them in Tampa and want them to engage more, so they're going to give us an update.
Great. Thank you. I am Mark Cantrell, the President and CEO of the Florida Orchestra, and I really appreciate you guys letting me come in here briefly to just give you an update on what we're doing in this great community. I will just say great communities have great leadership. And with the vibrancy and the growth and the excitement that is in Tampa Bay, that is a reflection on the work that you do. So on behalf of all of us in the arts world, thank you for what you're doing and setting the table for us to have a very vibrant arts here. So your Florida Orchestra has been in business for 55 years. We have been in Tampa a very long time. We employ 72 full-time musicians who are fully professional. I would liken the quality of what they do to being very similar to what we have with our Major League sports teams. These are people who are at the very top of their game. When you hear them in concert, you have to agree with them. I played with the Boston Symphony for 20 years, so even though I'm a homer because this is my orchestra and I live here, I can tell you that your Florida Orchestra is one of the top orchestras in the country. We are led by an internationally acclaimed music director, Michael Francis, who was an absolute rock star and soon to be quite possibly the next Leonard Bernstein in the entire music world. So we're very fortunate to have him here, and he lives here in the Tampa area up in Lutz. We play more than 100 concerts per season. Simply put, orchestras exist for one reason only. We are here to build community and to make this a better place. We are here to partner with our cities, with our towns, and with other businesses and other people to grow and make great communities. How do we do that? We do that by figuring out how first we intersect, then interact, and then impact our cities. Concerts are our biggest tool in our bag in which we help build these communities, but our first and foremost goal is the people of our communities and to improve the lives that they live with us. We do a very wide variety of offerings. When you think of a symphony orchestra, we usually think of Brahms, Bach, Beethoven, but we're much more than that. We play from September to May over a 36-week season. We will play Masterworks, which we all know, our Pops concerts, which we also know, but we also play rock concerts. We also do live film scores. We have something for literally everyone, and we are always exploring new options. We also step out of the concert hall. I don't know how many of you were there recently, but it was my first Bucks game that I got to go to, a Monday night football game back in December where your brass section from your Florida Orchestra played at the halftime show. It was quite an experience to play for 80,000 screaming people, I assure you. Musicians absolutely loved it. We also have formed a new partnership here in Tampa that we're very excited about with the Straz Center and Opera Tampa. We are now the orchestra for Opera Tampa. We believe firmly in the future of the opera here, and we think that that is a partnership and a collaboration that will deliver great things in the future as this community grows. We also, as you know, do many parks concert, particularly at Julian B. Lane, which we are very happy with the facility there. It is a wonderful park. It is a great place to bring music free to the people of the community in an outdoor a setting that is just wonderful. And we have our next concert there will be on Mother's Day. We'll have a nice tribute to all of the mothers out there. Be a wonderful concert. We also play at River Tower Park. Unfortunately, this year that concert got postponed due to about 6 inches of water standing on the ground there. And the city recommended that we not try and play a concert in a flood, which we heartily agreed with. So 34 out of our 36 weeks that we are here, we are at the Straz Center. And the Straz Center was our first venue that we ever had as a Florida Orchestra from 1968. And it is our largest venue, and we are very happy with the partnership we have with them. It is a true, we would not be able to do what we could do if it was not for them. So, but we also do a lot more than just concerts in building the community on our journey that we're trying to take us all on. We have many other partnerships. For instance, in the summertime, we partner with the Patel Conservatory, offering an intensive program with TFO musicians for the summertime youth in the area. We're very happy. That's a new partnership that we just developed, and it seems to be bearing fruit already. We also have a partnership with Hillsborough Community College, in which we have outreach programs going through them. We have a program, TFO Strings for Kids, teaching violin in the rec centers over here in Hillsborough County. And these are for at-youth risk. These are free. And if you ever have a chance, we'll send out information to you if you'd like. If you ever have a chance to go see the impact that these kids have, there is nothing like watching a 10-year-old or an 11-year-old for the first time playing a concert with the violin, the passion that they have. It reminds us of why we do what we do. And of course, we have our youth concerts that reach more than 10,000 students that we do at the Straz Center. And for a lot of them, this is their first time, and hopefully not last time, to experience an orchestra, to experience the thrill of being in a hall with 2,000 other people screaming and being excited for the music that they've been hearing and learning about in their classrooms. Of course, we have the longtime Yankees Steinbrenner Foundation partnership that we do, which we absolutely love. And we had to take a pause on that for safety reasons for COVID, but this year it came back and it was just an absolutely smashing success. And then we do the master classes up at USF, where we have Michael Francis goes in and works with their orchestra and works with their conductors to help further the next generation of not only musicians but music lovers, and help to build them to be more civically minded about what, you know, the place of an orchestra in a community. And then with the Tampa Metro Youth Orchestra, one of our great youth assets we have, we also every year do side-by-sides with them, which gives them the chance to sit next to professionals and play. The TFO is ardently and relentlessly working to help support growth in Tampa. Tampa is one of the fastest growing communities in the nation. People are moving here in droves, and a lot of those people are coming from places that have great art. And great cities demand great art. And the demand that we are starting to see here now is nothing short of spectacular. And we are here to help partner with everybody to make this a greater place. We are a cultural beacon of excellence that moves Tampa forward and puts us on the map as a cultural destination. I would like to invite all of you to come as my guest to any of the concert offerings that we have. See what we do. I think you will be very surprised at the quality of your orchestra. We have many guest conductors from all over the world come here, and we hear the same thing all the time. They are shocked at how good this orchestra has become. We are committed to the future of this city. We are committed to making sure that Tampa Bay becomes one of the great cities in our nation. And arts is just one part of it, but we appreciate all of your support for everything that the city of Tampa has done for the Florida Orchestra. This is your Florida Orchestra. We exist because of the work that you guys do in helping us build a better community. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Carlson, this was your motion.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming to give us an update today. And for anybody who's watching, the orchestra is not just something that's nice to have, it's essential for economic development in our area. Years ago when the Strata Center was built and the orchestra was created, it was looked at as a box that you had to check. Just like you need a football team, you need a Strata Center, you need an orchestra, you need a museum. But it's completely evolved since then. And we see industries and jobs being created out of this. The programming that the Strata Center does to train kids, the programming that the orchestra does. We've seen kids go on to Broadway and other places around the world. They create businesses here. You know, every kid wants to be a YouTube star now. So they learn how to do that there, and they monetize the ideas. But even as importantly, I've interviewed a lot of CIOs and CEOs of tech companies, and they all say their very best programmers, their smartest, best, and brightest thought leaders in their tech companies are musicians. And they code and they work in the day because that's how they make money. But their true love is music. And so if we want to have a thriving tech scene, we need to have that. And I'll just add one other personal note. If I'm correct, Mark, you play the trombone, is it?
Yep.
Yep. And back around 98, 99, I was in Boston. I went to see the Boston Symphony Orchestra, and John Williams, who is the great composer of all the Star Wars music, Indiana Jones,
Yep.
Jaws, just about every big movie you can think of. And Mark was playing in the audience. It was the Phantom Menace, the launch of the Phantom Menace music, and John Williams was the conductor, but Mark actually got to play and perform with John Williams, which I look forward to hearing more stories about. Also, one shout out in the back, Susanna Weymouth, who's with him, is a strong arts leader, was the head of the Regional Arts Association. They're very lucky to have her. If you don't know, her husband, Jan, is a great architect who designed the Dali Museum, the James Museum, but he also was the guy who worked with I.M. Pei on building the pyramids at the Louvre. And they both have, and she used to work with Henry Kissinger. They have fantastic stories as well. So thank you for your contribution to the community.
Great.
Councilman Maniscalco.
And thank you for your presentation. I've enjoyed the Florida Orchestra for probably about 20 years. In college, I would attend the Masterworks concerts. It was Stefan Sanderlin, I
Yep.
believe, was there at the time. It was always enjoyable. A lot of good memories. Pops in the Park or at the Strata Center. You mentioned Leonard Bernstein and reminded me of some of my favorite music. Do you have anything coming up where it's West Side Story, Sound of Music, MGM musicals, that kind of
stuff?
Yeah, we have, in our program, we have some Pops concerts coming up, very interesting Pops concerts I think people will like. We started with a nod to the Oscars, and we're going to end with a nod to Broadway. I may have that backwards. You'll have to pardon me if you're asking me program questions. Right now, we're finalizing next season.
Okay.
So they get mixed over each other. But we also have a Star Wars versus Harry Potter coming up.
Okay.
We have, it is, and that is going to be a fantastic concert. We try with our Pops programming to reach a wide variety. For instance, this weekend, we're doing the music of Abbey Road. So we go from everything from Billy Joel and Led Zeppelin all the way to for Pops to Rodgers and Hammerstein and all this. But yeah, that is an important part of what we do to make sure we can reach that's the intersect and interact part of what we do. It's programming to make sure we reach all parts of the community.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilman Miranda.
I just want to say thanks again for what you do and what you plan. Going way back when I was a little teenager, before teenage age at the Boys Club, it was not the Boys and Girls Club named then, and it is what it is. Past history is past history. But I remember being about 8 or 10 years old, and they took us to play a little concert, just a little group of about 10 of us, and it was the only TV station in the area. It was Channel 38 in St. Petersburg, and that was the one that was most famous for Rags the Tiger. That was an article that they wrote, and there was a story about beautiful thing. And we did that at the Boys Club, and we learned a lot from music. And I can tell you, even through high school, although I was not a good player, I just got in to make a grade so I can look good when I have my going for apply for somewhere else. But there were some individuals in that group that I can mention right now, like Jack Maniscalco became a spine and brain surgeon. Betty Maniscalco became a heart doctor, and the most famous of all of them is Dennis Propello, who was a world-renowned heart surgeon. I think he even did a heart transplant way, way back when it was not popular. But all those music players, especially the trombone section, I remember Richard Paris was a trombonist, and we had a great group. And I was not in the group then, I was doing other things, but that was the first time that Jefferson ever received the coveted award of, I think, A class when they went to competition in the state. And both of those individuals that played the music, like we said earlier, became something that everybody looked to aspire to be. So I want to thank you for music settles you down no matter what kind of music it is. And I love them all. But thank you for what you do, and don't ask me to play with you because I'll ruin the orchestra. Thank you very much for what you do.
Thank you. It's funny that you say that because people don't understand what we do in music really and the power of what it is. And having lived in this world my entire life, I also was an airline pilot before I became a CEO. So I've had an interesting career. But from day one when we walk into a practice room, like the colleagues that you just mentioned, we're problem solvers. How do we play this? How do we do this? We fail in the practice room so that we can succeed on stage. But is that learning to be problem solvers on the spot is one of the powers that is not talked about music. And to talk about, when we're talking about IT, Judy Faulkner up in Madison, Wisconsin, who owns Epic Medical Software Systems, her #1 recruit is at colleges, art colleges or music schools, because she said they can think creatively. Anybody can learn to program, if they have the aptitude and wanting to do it, but to be able to creatively problem solve is a big deal.
In fact, one of the fellows we brought in when I was in high school at Jefferson was a guy, one of the world-renowned trumpet players named Rafael Mendez from Mexico.
Yep.
And he came and did a concert for us, which was outstanding. And a lot of good trumpet players came out of Jefferson, including Gene Provenzano, and all those guys, and ladies too, that could play. I remember sitting next to him saying, what the hell am I doing here? But thank you.
Thank you all.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
I just want to echo folks' thanks. As a former elementary school teacher, music was a giant part of our day, and I really worked hard to make sure that we used music in in many different things we did. And so I'm really happy to hear how you are still trying to reach every generation. It's very exciting, and I hope more people come to visit and see you perform. So I just want to say thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for your wonderful presentation today. I'm sure council appreciates it. I've always said the dollar for dollar. The arts bring more to any city than any professional sports team. As a former musician, yes, it teaches kids a lot of things. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you, and continue the great work that you're doing. You're a big reason why the Tampa area is such an exciting place to live.
Thank you. Agenda item number 2. We are going to hear from Tampa's Black History Committee.
Good morning, Chairman Cedro and council members. I'm LaShawn Dock, and I am a member of the City of Tampa Black History Committee's Executive Board. I have with me today Shirley Fox Knowles and Frank Crum. They are also members of the Executive Board. But I'm here today speaking for our president, Mrs. Katrina House, who could not be here today. But I do want to thank you. We certainly appreciate you allowing us to come before you this morning to announce our upcoming celebration. So this is our 35th annual celebration. This celebration will be held on Monday, February 13th at 11 a.m. The celebration will be held at the Tampa Convention Center. This is in Ballroom C. So as I mentioned earlier, this is our 35th anniversary. We're excited to announce our keynote speaker would be Dr. Tanja Williams. Dr. Williams is president of St. Petersburg College, and she will be our keynote speaker, speaking on our theme of Then and Now, a Remarkable Journey, Education and Scholarship. So we welcome everyone to attend. This is open to the public, and we appreciate council's support. Council, you've supported us through the years. We certainly appreciate it. You are also invited, so we look forward to seeing you at our program, along with members of the public. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Comments or questions?
We'll be there.
We're there.
Okay, thank you so much, council.
Thank you.
Okay.
At this time, we will have public comment. Anyone in council chambers wishing to speak during public comment, please come forward and you will have 3 minutes. Anyone wishing to speak, if we could form a line on my left, your right.
You still right there? Okay, thank you.
You may be the first one.
I'd like to hand something over to the council members. You, Mr. Shelby?
Do you have?
Yeah, there's 10.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good morning, council members. My name is Cheryl Schroeder. I'm with the West Central Florida Labor Council. We represent union members and their families in the Tampa Bay area. I'm here to speak on item number 13 that's on the agenda for today. And it would be a report regarding the latest city project, the City Center, that would be the first project under the recently passed apprenticeship ordinance. And this apprenticeship ordinance is a first and foremost concern to us. The ordinance was passed as a pathway, a generator of career-oriented jobs in the Tampa Bay area. It was city dollars being used to develop city residents in a career path. We are very anxious to see what the report comes out. If it is less than what we had hoped for, because we have been very frustrated by a lack of information regarding this project. But regardless, moving forward, I really hope that the City Council will audit these projects more carefully to make sure that they align with the ordinance that you passed and felt was important enough to provide opportunities for our youth, men and women here in the Tampa Bay area. Thank you.
Ms. Schroeder.
Yes.
Last time that I saw a bunch of the union members, I made it my promise, and I believe there are some union members here.
Yes, sir, there
that
is.
I will inquire of that, and I made that promise to you. And on the agenda, you will
I would
notice
note
that
that.
this is my motion.
Yes, sir.
So I always keep my promises to union members.
Councilman Citro, we are aware of that. We also noticed that Mr. Maniscalco was Mr. Miranda was actually the second on that motion. But I do note in conversations with the various leaders on this council that everybody has had a concern regarding this. And I really appreciate your attention to this. You know, moving forward, that we really firm up this process to ensure that this ordinance is enacted and implemented in an appropriate way.
I'm sure we are all waiting for information on that report.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Councilman Goods, you're recognized.
Ms. Schroeder has listed 10 points. I know Ms. Kalina will speak on that item. At that time, I'd probably make a motion to have this entered, and they can respond to the union's questions.
Great.
My apologies for not being here. I had to take care of something right away.
You know where I'm at, Councilman.
Councilman Carlson, you're recognized.
If the clerk has an extra copy, could we give one to staff? And instead of, maybe staff could just automatically address these questions when they get ready for their report. Thank you.
Thank you for your time this morning.
Good morning, Connie Burton,
As we discuss African History Month, moving forward, I just would like to say that the reflection of what I see happening in this city every day give rise to what Dr. King described in one of his last speeches as the other America. And what I see constantly is the other Tampa. The other Tampa where young people do not have hope, the aspiration, just based on eyesight of improvement in their community is not there. While we grapple with how buildings will be named, just 2 days ago, young man, 27 years old, dead in the middle of the afternoon. Too many young people growing up being without their fathers, too many young men going to prison. All of these programs, and yet the outcome is almost the same from the time that Dr. King gave that speech to what we're looking at right now. A month ago, you talked about your wonderful, not apprentice program, but I made a request to see how well is African people doing with the contracts. Dallas One was given almost like $14 million. The other company was given Dallas One and JV Construction. And just looking at the paper, African Americans won $450,000. Who could he hire? Most of the African contractors that was on the sheet lived in St. Petersburg are out of place. Things are not improving for our community here. When we talk about housing equity, we look at even our CRA is looking at raising how they would give down payment assistance for housing that's costing upward to $500,000. And it just seemed like all systems are go, leaving a whole group of people behind. So while you signed a resolution in 2020 that you would recognize the ill fate that had been done to African people, it has been nothing but water and paper written upon it, that we can't point to anything and see any viable improvement for the lives of our community. You got to do better. You should want to do better in this climate. When we've just asked for simple things of a citizen review board, don't think Tampa is far removed from Memphis, Tennessee, because I remember when that young man, Dominique Markey, was killed right there on 50th Street. Although it was ruled justifiable, he had over 100 bullets in his body. This is the Tampa that I know. I don't come asking for myself, but the quality of life for Black people must improve in this community. Thank you.
Thank you.
And 'tis not Tampa, Florida. Want to say huru. Huru means freedom in Swahili. We say we as African people should always be thinking about our freedom because we see every day, they show us every day how to keep us intimidated. When you see the police beating Africans, shooting Africans, killing Africans, hitting us with cars, tasing us, doing all kind of inhumane things to us. I hate to say, that ain't even no big deal. All you have to do is stay prayed up and hope you're not the one. That's all Black parents have to do, hope our kids come home safe, hope they don't get shot like an animal in the street, and not necessarily by thugs or gangsters, by the real thugs or gangsters, which is the police. But that's not a big deal. Trayvon Martin's not a big deal. Rodney King's not a big deal. When Malcolm X caught on to the fact that we're saying, when Malcolm X got a little bit of sense and started understanding African internationalism and started saying people like Martin Luther King and Elijah Muhammad and all that nonsense they were feeding African people wasn't nothing but a bunch of coons, when they caught on to it themselves, that white people got us on the wrong track, then the white folks had to kill them. But the fact of the matter is, the stuff the white folks got us on, that Benjamin Crump and that police murder, that ain't no big deal. White America and this white world, that's 11% of this population, is responsible, white businesses and white governments is responsible for 100,000 deaths a day. A day, black deaths a day, from all kinds of reasons. And they got the black buffoons around here talking about speed bumps and parks and four-way stop signs and Black History Month and Martin Luther King parades and Juneteenth. It's ignorant. We got to talk about reparations, and we have to talk about what these white folks owe us. We got to talk about fighting the police for real, for real, for real. The same way white folks want their Second Amendment rights, that's the same way we want our Second Amendment rights, to fight back the people that's murdering us every day. We want our rights for that. We need our reparations, $623 trillion owed to us. We need the reparations that this city owes us, this garbage city owes us, that's rising. When you look around, everything look good for white folks, and it look garbage in our community. White folks ain't that smart, but y'all just think we're that dumb. We're not that dumb. We African people have to get on the important issues that affect our lives and our children's lives. We don't have to keep living like this. And y'all white folks up there tricking us. Y'all tricked us in a little vote the other day. Y'all tricking us. We ain't that stupid. I'm here to represent to say for African people, we ain't that stupid.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Captain Frank Williams, located at 1112 East Scott Street. And I commend the brother and sister that came up here and spoke before I did, because they ain't doing nothing but telling the truth. And the truth need to be heard. When y'all sit up there and look at us as we stupid, y'all need to take a hint. We busy people. And the reason we're trying to do what's right, I was looking at TV the other night. It was a shame that I had to look at it. Memphis, Tennessee. Boy, the way they did that poor fella, boy, it's ridiculous. But they ain't only doing him like that. You're doing me and everybody else that color. We treating us all in the worst way we can. You know, this United States ain't what it's supposed to be. And I'm going to let you know, I'm going to believe in Jesus Christ. My trust is in God Almighty. But y'all trying to take everything away from me. It's perverse my rights. Our God-given right is in violation. Our constitutional right is in violation. Our human right is in violation. Our praying right is in violation. Our worship right is in violation. Everything y'all hear me saying is in violation when it comes down to people of color. But I got to let y'all know something. As long as we got life in our body, we're going to keep coming here. Y'all not going to discourage it. We're going to speak the truth to you, whether you want to hear it or not. I learned the good. Why don't you work and run for mayor of this city?
True.
I'm being honest with you.
Very true.
Because that woman that y'all got up there, what y'all call it, mayor, she ain't doing nothing for us. And she get less than damn about us. But we got to care about ourselves. I know people don't want to hear me talk like this, but I got to speak the truth. Because you got people coming at me now about my church. Citation my church. Want to give it to the Puerto Rican people. Puerto Rican people think they white. But they don't realize they're just like I am. In the same shoes that I'm wearing. Regardless of what they think about themselves. But we got to understand. You people that call yourself politicians, start treating black folks like they're supposed to be treated. That's all we are. We ain't nothing but citizens of the United States of America. Stop ringing that damn thing. I heard it the first time.
Thank you.
Can I start?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Eileen Henderson, 914 West Fribley Street, Tampa. Good morning, council. My mom passed unexpectedly in late November 2022. Some of you may have known her. Her name was Victoria Gonzalez Davis. She was a tough, strong, and fierce woman who I admired immensely. My brother reminded me a few days after she passed that Mom had prepared us for moments like this because she raised us in her likeness. And he is right. Somehow, my heart didn't feel quite so heavy anymore. And I realized the truth in his words, which brings me today, summoning that strength and fierceness to fight for something I believe in, something I know council can make right. As I'm sure most, if not all of you have heard by now, Memorial Park Cemetery, the over 100-year-old designated Black cemetery that boasts a veterans monument, was recently sold at a blind bid auction for $18,000. What little we know is someone in the city thought it a good idea to let the property foreclose and allow it to go to auction. The plan was the city would bid on it because their intentions were to take it over, or so the story goes. Well, the city was outbid by $10,000 and lost the cemetery to a for-profit house flipper who plans on selling it. This is the same cemetery that the city told us they would have it go to a nonprofit, and they would maintain it until then. This is also the same cemetery where a press conference was held days before Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and I quote, "Protecting forgotten, abandoned, or vulnerable cemeteries is the right thing to do." Mayor Jane Castro, January 14, 2022. At that same press conference, Mayor Castor quotes Martin Luther King Jr. "The time is right to do what is right." Yet here we are today wondering what went wrong. How can the city be so reckless and irresponsible with its history, its Black history? This seems to be the way of the city, though, because recently not even the real boundaries for Dobyville remained intact. As such, the city in one fell stroke changed history, Black history. And that, council, is how history, Black history, is erased and or forgotten. Let me add that saying there is no funding is not an option. We're spending billions to make Tampa a better place. I know, and you know, if there's a will, there's a way. I implore you, I beg you, find the way. Find that way. Save Memorial Park Cemetery.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Good, you're recognized.
just legal. I did not make a statement about the cemetery the other day once I found out the process. I do have a meeting scheduled with Mr. Massey and Ms. Travis as relates to the cemetery, so I'll go ahead and say my notes publicly now. The new property owner of the cemetery should know this is the focal point of East Tampa community, and we look forward to their investment in the Black community. I'd like to get with our Deputy City Attorney offline and ensure this new property owner understands this council and the community's expectations for this historic African-American cemetery. And several calls on this, and I'm sure the legal team and our economic development director will get on this and get me some answers and deal with this accordingly. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Ray Reed, 1421 Hilton Place, Old Seminole Heights, Tampa, Florida. Some of you I've met before. Mr. Maniscalco, I apologize. We never did get together at that cemetery at 30th and Sly, but I want to tell you that in my research, and I've spent 7 years going through death certificates, city burial permits, through newspapers.com. Unfortunately, the Black community, 1902, 1903, they did have the obituaries. Past that, it's as though they never existed or never died. I'm happy to report that that cemetery, which is inappropriately and incorrectly attributed to a Civil War veteran fighting for the CSA, actually qualifies as an abandoned African-American cemetery because I found two African-American burials there, one from 1911, one from 1906. The cemetery was originally called Brickyard, became known as Robles because Sly was Robles Avenue until the Slys in 1903, the corner of what's now Sly in Nebraska where the gas station is, built their country home. The history of Tampa, and I may not agree with some of the comments here entirely that have been made, but the history of Tampa has been candy-coated and is so much ridiculousness. The only thing I can rely on it to is in the movie The Producers, Springtime for Hitler, portraying World War II as a bunch of Busby Berkeley dancing girls and whatever. That's what we've done with Tampa history, particularly when it comes to the Cuban population, the early immigrants who built the cigar factories. They were treated no differently than the black population. And when you read some of the things in the newspapers that actually went on, and then you watch what's portrayed in the History Center, I would, if I was up there, I'd make a motion that the History Center be renamed Story Center, get rid of the HI, because a lot of it is just malarkey. I was with Ms. Henderson out at Memorial Park this past week. One of the projects I've been involved with is going through and for every sketchy or erased cemetery, recording the number of death certificates through 1939. Hillsborough County only started filing them in July of 1913. So prior to that time, some Tampa burial permits, but since you had West Tampa, you had Gary, you had the federal district, their information's gone. I just want to tell you that up till 1939, I found 4,900 and some odd death certificates when I backed out the known people at Memorial Park. It's only supposed to have 5,200 or 5,300 people in total there. I have someone here will be also speaking at the total body count there, but that place is full. And the number of people that are not memorialized there, that are buried there, is legion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Hallie Reed. I live at 2059 Ronald Circle in Sefner. For a long time, it's been known that Memorial Park Cemetery holds a large number of unmarked burials. Last summer, I undertook a big project trying to count the number of burials in Memorial Park using publicly available documents. And my estimate for the number of burials there is around 20,000. The number of marked burials listed on findagrave.com is 5,776. That means there are approximately 14,000 unmarked burials in Memorial Park. For the first part of the count, I used Florida State death certificates on FamilySearch.org and created a spreadsheet counting 5,148 burials from 1920 to 1939. There may be a few unmarked burials who were moved from other cemeteries or who died outside of Hillsborough County and then were brought back. For the second part of the count, I created a spreadsheet listing Memorial Park obituaries in the Florida Bulletin Sentinel newspaper, going from November of 1958 to the end of 2004. The total number from that is 9,678. The number is likely somewhat low because not everyone received an obituary, as well as those who were buried there after 2004. Because there are no documents that are currently publicly available to count the burials from 1940 to 1958, I can only estimate, but I'm placing the number of burials from that time to be around 5,000. All in all, this comes to about 20,000 burials. This is the city of Tampa's chance to do right by its historic black cemeteries, and it shouldn't be missed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Sarah Taylor. I'm the marketing and PR manager with GMF Steel Group. We're based in Lakeland, Florida. We're a structural steel fabrication and erection company, but we do work all over the Southeast, including primarily Tampa. Some of the projects we've had the wonderful opportunity to work on includes the Hannah City Avenue project, Tampa Convention Center, JW Marriott, University of Tampa, Tampa General Hospital, just to name a few. But what makes GMF so special is that we're not just building skylines, we're building careers, and these two gentlemen are representations of that. One of the most rewarding parts about my job is that I get to oversee talent acquisition, and I get to recruit for our apprenticeship program. Our apprenticeship program is NCCER recognized. NCCER accredited. It's recognized by the State of Florida Department of Education. These two gentlemen are apprentices at GMF, and our program is 3 years long. It includes full training. Our apprentices are full-time employees. They receive full benefits, PTO, perks, and all that. But why I'm here today is for them to share the impact that our apprenticeship program has had on their lives. And several weeks ago, we had the wonderful opportunity to host a career fair at GMF where we had vendors from all over the nation, but primarily students from the Tampa Bay region. Some of the schools represented included Ridge Technical, Roosevelt, Fort Meade, and Kathleen and Bartow. So these students got to come to GMF to meet with these vendors, have hands-on experience, and see what it looks like to have a career in construction. Because it's our job to teach them structural steel ironworking. It's their job to show up with 100% effort, because what we look for in our apprentices is not how many years of experience they have on their resume, it's who they are as a person. They come straight out of school, most of them, so we look for things like competitiveness and energy and work ethic and attitude and humility. Those are the things that we look for, because it's not just our job to grow them as a professional, it's our job to grow them as a person and make a positive impact on their life. And I'm really excited for Tommy and Trey to share how the apprenticeship program has impacted their life.
Hello, I'm Tommy Ashwood, and I'm an apprentice for the GMF program. I started out like going to job. I was looking for a career, and I landed on GMF, the apprenticeship group. And ever since then, I've been growing mentally, physically. I've been meeting some of the smartest people, cool classmates, every day just learning, growing, working in Tampa Convention Center to Hannah City Ave. It's been a really great impact on my life.
Good morning, my name is Trey Bullington. I'm an apprenticeship for GMF Steel Group. They gave me the opportunity to join their company and apprenticeship program from ACC. They let me continue my career and letting me grow and grow. I got opportunities to learn in class and on the job, meeting new people, different environments, and I'm just really excited just to see where I keep growing and where GMF grows.
So I just wanted to provide real world experience to you to show that these programs work. Our program works, and we're excited to look at this year doubling our numbers. We are growing exponentially, and it's really exciting to get students who didn't really know what they wanted to do after school, didn't think college was a right fit for them, but they wanted to work with their hands, liked the idea of building things and being in construction, and we get to provide that. They get to be in the classroom, they get to be in the field, and it's much different than any other program that they could be a part of. And so I'm thankful that we had the opportunity today to share with you the positive impact that we get to have and putting our fingerprints all over Tampa on some of these amazing projects and really leave a legacy and an impact on the Tampa Bay region. Thank you.
Councilman Maniscalco.
Well, thank you for being here, all three of you. Apprenticeship programs are so important, and I'm so supportive because they're the path to strong middle class, or a path to the American dream. And I would say that to anybody that's young, that is looking for what to do with their future in a career path. So I'm glad that you're on the path to the American dream. You're getting paid and you're earning benefits while you're working and learning, and no one can take that skill away from you. My question is, are you currently working on the Hannah Avenue project, or have you been working on it?
We did, yes, up to this point, yes.
Do you live here in Tampa?
I personally do not.
I live in Bartow.
And do you live in Tampa?
No, Plant City.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilman Goods.
Young lady, could you give Ms. Kelly your information? My office can contact you.
Sure.
Young lady right there, she'll take
Sure.
your information,
Absolutely.
she'll give it to my aide. Thank you.
Excuse me, I have a question for you all, please. And Ms. Sharp, if you could please take your information and give it to all of us, all the council people. Please come back up to the podium. Your apprenticeship program, and I know there's some people behind you that are going to ask this question today. Is your apprenticeship program state certified?
Yes.
State of Florida?
Yes, it's recognized by the Department of Education. We have a DOE number.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Good morning. My name is Ashanti Tucker. I work for DPR Construction on the Hannah project. I'm in the apprenticeship program. Before I came, I knew nothing about construction. I had little knowledge. Now that I got in the program, I know everything. I know more. I'm getting to know more, building, pouring concrete, seeing how everything gets laid out. They teaching me how to drive the vehicles, go to class Monday and Wednesdays. And I'm just want to stay, try to grow, get more knowledge, build. It's a good company. They take care of you, no problems. Just the best company I've ever worked for.
Councilman Maniscalco.
Well, first, let me say that we're very proud of you. You're part of something that is going to pave the way for a good life. Working hard and earning good money and good benefits. You know, you'll never have to worry because someone's always going to have your back.
Right.
Do you live here in the city of Tampa or in the community?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Councilman Hurtak.
Yes, congratulations for finding a career that you can work in. What specific apprenticeship program are you in?
With the concrete position.
So concrete, you're working in concrete.
With
Okay,
concrete.
thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Councilman Goods.
You know, every time I see young people that don't know their way, some that are coming out of the prison system and have monitors, they're sitting at home, and then that's how they get in trouble because they get bored still. So I always try to send them over to some of the programs that are in East Tampa. I know CDC has some electrical programs, welding. You know, I know we harp on the state certification, and that's great. We got to have that. But I want people who are not having an opportunity to get them in the door, get them into some seats, and start to get them certified while they're working, making money. So for me, it's not all about the state. It's about me getting people off the street. I got to get them in the doors, get them certified to be a state person. And I know that in communities, I see signs of, we'll hire, and I said this to the program, Hannah, if you got a sign of hire, get them in there sweeping the floor, and then see if you can get them into a state program. But don't let them just walk by, and because what you're saying that, you know, they're not in a state program, we can't get them to work. I want them working, and now get them certified, because if they're working, they're not getting into trouble. And I know all too well, especially in my community, that's why, you know, I want to get those people, young people in the door, get them into a state program, but get them doing something versus just sitting home doing nothing. But thank you for coming and sharing with us.
You're welcome.
Ma'am, thank you very much for being here.
You're welcome.
Through retirement, through attrition, through whatever, our craftspeople are dwindling, and we don't have people to replace them. Thank you for taking the initiative.
Yes,
and
sir,
thank
you're welcome.
every program that is taking the initiative to backfill all these craftspeople that we're so needing, especially here in Tampa Bay. Thank you for all
You're
you've
welcome.
done. Oh, I'm sorry,
Sorry,
Councilman
sorry.
Miranda.
I'm at the end, I understand that. You can't see me, you can't have peripheral vision all the time. But thank you again for what you do. You know, no matter if you're concrete, no matter if you're a bricklayer, no matter if you're an electrician, no matter if you're a plumber, no matter if you're a roofer, no matter what you do, those are jobs that necessity makes it go forward. Some individuals that have college degrees can't do most of that work. And some of that work, if not all of that work, pays a very good living wage. So my advice to you and all the apprenticeship individuals, learn your trade because you'll always be in need, no matter if it's with this company or another company or on your own. There's individuals that make hundreds of thousands of dollars just in starting windows, but they do an excellent job. And like yourself, concrete is very, very important. When you pour a driveway of a big house, let's say it's 30 by 40 or 50, you're looking at anywhere from $8,000 to $12,000, $15,000. So there's money to be made. All you got to do is what you're doing now. Learn your trade, learn how to live, and more importantly, always save $5 or $10 a week for a rainy day. That's what advice I was given. That's the advice I'm giving you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
For
Thank
being who
you.
you are.
Thank you.
I did that when I came over from college, my uncle, and I worked for the last 2 weeks, and that was it.
You had a smart uncle.
Hey, wasted too much money.
Hi, can I start?
Good morning. Yes, ma'am, please.
Good morning, council. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to come and speak. My name is Haley Franklin. I'm an account manager at ProLink Staffing. I was actually an elected official in Carrollton, Kentucky, so I know how important it is just to get out and meet your local city officials, and I know how important it is for you guys to make decisions, and you all being here as well, so appreciate that for sure on a personal level. I am here to just present on my company. I'm brand new with ProLink Staffing. We're at West Kennedy Boulevard, and I know how important the workforce is in a city like this, of this magnitude. So we help staff in IT, healthcare, business, finance, and skilled trades. So I love to see the skilled trades people here today as well. I help match great candidates, their skill sets to great employers. So the employers in the city are very important as well in keeping these folks employed, and we help kind of polish them up and make sure that they are ready to go in the career that they choose. So if you know of anybody that's hiring or any candidates that would like a boost in their career, get with me. I did leave some cards with this sweet lady up here in the front. So thank you guys very much for this opportunity. If anybody has any questions or would like a card, I'll be here for a few. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Council. It's as always an honor and privilege to be before you. It's an amazing thing that we can all get together and do this as a community. Unfortunately, you become the sounding board for a lot of people yelling, and I hope you have a drama-free, less contentious session today. There are a lot of trees on Memorial Park Cemetery, and I can guarantee you that I will be standing at this podium fighting for trees that a developer wants to put, when a developer wants to put up a project on Memorial Park Cemetery. This will flip, it'll change hands, we'll decide that the bodies don't matter, we'll move the 3 black people that died into another cemetery, and somebody will come along and build something big and great and expensive that people that have $1 million can go ahead and move into. When is this going to stop? When is it going to stop? When is every piece of clear land going to be deemed as buildable for the city of Tampa? It makes 0 sense. There are cities all across America looking for green space and trying to make green space available for the people that live there. It's the reason people move to certain places. Do you think the park in the middle of the city of Tampa is our green space? Is that it? We just clear cut 100 trees at Circle C Ranch. You guys voted for it because you rezoned it. When is rezoning going to stop? There was a plan for this city to figure out, where we're going to hold it back and where we're going to build it up. What's going to get high, what's going to stay low. You can't drive down MacDill anymore and see the sun sometimes. Sunrise comes about 10 o'clock for some of the people in South Tampa because some of the condos that are going up. We have got to slow down, guys. You are us. You are us. You are the people who are the voice of the people in each one of your constituents. And if you truly sat down with your constituents, which I have no doubt you do, you would find out that they are not for the builders to come in and build. They want green space, they want livable neighborhoods, they want houses built that you can actually afford. Do you think any of the Circle C Ranch condos that are going to be going there are going to be affordable for any of the people that came up and said we want to move back into our neighborhood? Those are $750,000, $800,000 condominiums. You're not crazy. I know each one of you. You're each incredibly intelligent people, and I respect each one of you. We have got to figure out a way. We need micro parks. We need to stop rezoning. We have to figure out a way to make money available for green spaces. That's on you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Shelby.
Just your name for the record, sir.
Oh, Bob Whitmore. I'm the Executive Director at City Tree.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, my name is Simon Rowe, and I'm here to speak on agenda items 6 and 7. I'll start by speaking on 7 about the report on bicyclists. I know we talk about, what is now called biking while black here in Tampa because that is what has led to the CRB's creation. But there is still racial disparity in pulling over people on bicycles here in this city. And this is a major, large-scale problem for residents in Tampa. This, racial disparity in pulling people over is a civil rights violation, not on an individual level, but could potentially affect hundreds of people year after year. And I even remember in a CRB meeting last year, former Chief O'Connor saying the program had ended, but at that time, about 60% of the people pulled over on bicycles at that point in the year were black. That is still a large racial disparity for a city that's 25% black, and that should not be acceptable. That's clearly not justice. That's clearly not anything other than racial profiling, in my opinion. And that's why there was a DOJ investigation on what is called biking while black, and that needs to be addressed. And to move on to agenda item 6, I am interested in learning more about what is going on with this case, but I hope like many of you, will be taking what the Tampa Police Department reports with a grain of salt. Thinking back to Jonas Joseph in 2020, the initial TPD reports on the killing of Jonas Joseph were inaccurate, saying that he fired back at the police, even though that isn't clear. They say he was shot 62 times when the medical report said he was shot upwards of 115 times, and there is no video footage released of the Jonas Joseph case. I mean, it's tragic that we need video footage to prove a dead person's innocence and that they were a victim when they're dead, but it's the world we live in. Looking at the Tyree Nichols case up in Memphis, we can't just bury things like this. And the fact that police departments are able to portray dead people as felons, as criminals, is racist. We should treat these dead people with respect and humanity. But it is because of the racism of the police departments that these dead people are treated as criminals. And we should challenge these narratives if we want justice for those individuals and for the Black community here in Tampa, because they deserve better than to be treated as criminals and deserving of death. This lack of transparency with TPD is a problem, and I hope it is addressed.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Noreen Copeland Miller, and I'm here in happy, Black History Month. I'm just listening to all the things that's going on, but I have a question for this council. Because as I live in East Tampa, I try to be active and engaged in the community, but I have to read out of the paper that Tampa lost control of a historic Black cemetery. A property flipper now owns it. I have at least 12 members in memorial, family members that are buried in that cemetery. My grandfather was in World War II. He's buried there with a plot. My brother is also a veteran. My mother is buried there. And when I read this article, I was disturbed. And I said, how dare our city council or the city of Tampa allow a flipper to come in and buy the cemetery? He let you know he has no respect for the dead. Certainly no respect for our city, but we allowed this to happen. And I'm very concerned about it, but I know that you guys are going to make it right. And I'm concerned because the community didn't get the opportunity to even know what was going on. We had to read it out of the paper. And we talk about community engagement. We have a lot of people in East Tampa that's interested and want the community to be the best it can be. Although we've been characterized as being angry, mad, confused, we don't know what we want. Yes, we do. We know what we need, But the city seems to know what they think we need. As a community, we should have been engaged in that process when you all knew it was in foreclosure. Like Woodland Cemetery had the opportunity, their community to get engaged. We didn't have the opportunity. We talked about it at the CRA meeting about buying another wrought iron fence and all of that thing, but if this was going on, I'm concerned because the community was never told. It's a lack of communication, and we want to solve problems, but how can we when we are not engaged in the process? The community, there's a lot of people in East Tampa that want to work with the city of Tampa to make our community the best it can be. I know there's a few people that come down here that are disgruntled, but please do not stigmatize us with that because we're not all that way. I live in East Tampa, I own a home in East Tampa, and I have no intention of moving. And I want my community to be the best it can be. It is changing. We all know that. But let's be fair and treat East Tampa like you're treating all the other neighborhoods. Keep us abreast of what's going on. Let us get engaged in the process. We truly want to make it a better community. Show us that. This is a sad way to start off Black History Month for the East Tampa community, in my opinion, to have a flipper disrespect our cemetery. And I know you guys are going to make it right. I can see that because you all have the best interests of our community at hand. And thank you so much for listening to me this morning.
Councilman Maniscalco.
Thank you very much for being here. I understand how important this is. I don't know what the number is. I heard 20,000, I heard 5,200. There's a lot of important people, your family members, a lot of people in this community that are buried there. I don't know who the winning bidder is. The city was outbid because they put a number in, somebody outbid it, and we don't know what it is until the final outcome. But and I'm trying to be very careful because I know there was litigation involved. There was a lot of be careful what you say, but we have to make this right. You know, I don't know who the winning bidder is, house flipper, you know, blank. I don't know who the person is, but this is a historic cemetery with thousands of important individuals. We have to make it right. I mean, what benefit is it to, you know, I know a gentleman came up earlier, you know, does every piece of land have to be developed? You know, it's greed, it's money. And I'm not calling out anybody or saying anything negative, but there is no way that we can allow this to be anything but a cemetery, and it has to be protected. I don't know what's going to happen now because this, as it came out in the news, I don't know what our pathway is, but I mean, come on. It's the right thing to do to protect this, so thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Goods.
You know, we don't want to go down the slope right now. Yes, sir. Ms. Travis is trying to.
I'm recognizing Mr. Carlson. He had his hand up first, and then we'll get Ms. Travis, okay? Councilman Carlson, you're recognized.
I just wanted to let you know that this city council, for a couple years has demanded that cemetery be protected, and we have also said that we don't want another Zion to happen again. The first I knew about this was when I read it in the newspaper also. Nobody told me. Nobody in this council was involved in the process to my knowledge. And I think recently we passed a special zoning code or something to protect cemeteries. I don't know exactly what it says in this case, but somehow the administration went through a process that ended with this result. And part of city council's purpose is to provide oversight for mistakes that an administration makes. So I'm going to be looking into this among other things and to try to make sure this doesn't happen again. Thank you.
Ms. Travis.
Good morning, Council. Nicole Travis, Administrator of Development and Economic Opportunity. I appreciate all the comments, and I hope that the developer or the now new property owner is listening to the comments and the desires of the community to protect this African-American cemetery. We hold it in high regard. This was a code enforcement action process that happened that goes into a blind bid. I would advise you to please limit the comments on this. We are in discussions, and I'm asking you please to respectfully limit your conversations on this right now, please.
Councilman Vieira, you're recognized, and I'll go back to Councilwoman Hurtak.
I was going to say, I've been working on this for a while, and that's why I haven't, just for the record, for the public, that's why I haven't, it's public comment, but also I haven't said anything because of that issue. I've been working on this for a very long time. I feel very, very passionate about it, but I'm just going to refrain from making remarks because of any legal issues. But trust me, ma'am, all I'm going to tell you is I got your back, and we all have your back, 110%, and the city of Tampa's got your back. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you. God bless you.
Councilman Goods, then Councilwoman Hurtak.
No, I just wanted Ms. Travis to come up because I wanted us to kind of limit the conversation. Their staff they've got the message already loud and clear. So we just need to hold back and let them do what they need to do now. I've had my conversations with them, and they're going to do what they need to do.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
Thank you. We absolutely, when we can, I understand this is in a legal position right now, but when we can, we're going to have to talk about this and how we got here. We've had conversations, but I'm just saying that at some point we are going to have to discuss how this does not happen again, and that is as specific as I will get.
May I just say one thing before I walk away? This is Black History Month, and I don't want to think that the city of Tampa is erasing Black history, but I attended Doverville Elementary in Hyde Park on Dakota Street, and I go over there from time to time to see the little placard on the road because it's forgotten. So I was compelled to come here this morning to talk about this cemetery because I've lived some Black history being erased in the city of Tampa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Travis, you were approaching the podium. Is there something you'd like to add?
No, I'm going to let my colleague here, Administrator Nguyen, who talked to you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Osea Nguyen, Administrator of Neighborhood and Community Affairs. I don't know if you recall, but in 2020, we formed the Cemetery Task Force when a number of unnamed, unmarked cemeteries were being uncovered. And I came before you and shared with you the process that we would have to make sure that when those issues come, that we will look at them internally to see what ownership the city has and what ownership the public has and how we can navigate through that process. In addition to that, Memorial Cemetery was one of those cemeteries that, if you recall, the previous owner was, I think the previous owner, I don't know his name, but died, and then the property went into the hands of family members, and it was in disrepair. What we have committed to do, even though the city did not own that cemetery, is that we continued, or we took over the maintenance and continued with the maintenance of that cemetery. So I just wanted to let you know that we are committed to making sure that what is done right by the people who are interred there, what's done right by the community, and doing the right thing because it is the right thing to do. So I just wanted to share that with you to let you know that even though we did not own the cemetery, we did expend our internal resources to make sure that the maintenance was done on the property.
Thank you.
Good morning, Council. Steve Michelini. I'm here on item number 16, and I am the co-chair of the Tampa Bay Builders Association Governmental Affairs Committee. And first, let me indicate that we're not here talking about the city staff and anything that the city staff or administration has done improperly. We're here because the Acela program has caused a great deal of concern among everyone who uses that. It is the lifeblood of the city system. And we've been talking with city staff, and we've also met with the Acela representative regarding these issues. But what happens is that, the city has invested somewhere between $15 and $20 million in a system that is paid for by the users. So anyone who's applying for any process in the city pays for that service. Acela was the best system that was available at the time, and it probably still remains the best system available within our region. The problem is it hasn't kept up with the times. The Builders Association
was an early advocate, and Tampa was probably the beta of all of the Acela systems throughout the region. What happened was, as they went through the process, the other areas around us got the improvements and Tampa didn't. So we are asking that Acela commit the manpower and all the resources necessary to correct these deficiencies. I don't know how many of you have access to Acela regarding permitting, licensing, or filing for an application of any kind. But if you put in one name and one address and you get 20 addresses that come up and they're commingled with things that have nothing to do with your project, it's confusing. When inspectors can't put in inspections that are necessary to complete projects and they have to do it manually, that's a problem. The system is not working the way it should be. They are putting patches in that need to be fixed entirely. The platform has too many patches. When they switched from individual servers to the cloud, it created another whole set of problems. Chairman, can I have another minute, please?
30 seconds.
The issue is we're spending a lot of money. It's paid for by the users, and Acela needs to commit the resources to fix it. I'll be here when the staff makes their presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. However, the system is patched, it's not fixed, and we need their commitment to get that repaired as soon as possible. As it goes on, even residents can't properly access the system to understand what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning, Council. Jim Janecko with the International Union of Operating Engineers. I'm also the treasurer of the Florida Gulf Coast Building and Construction Trades Council, the construction unions representing all the different trades and crafts. Resident of the city of Tampa as well, 33629. You heard from 3 apprentices today. 2 of those were worked for GMF, and Councilman Goods, I believe you directed them to provide their contact information so that you can conduct a follow-up. I noticed that they did give their contact information to the city. So what can be helpful for you as you make a true apples-to-apples comparison is to recognize that those workers for GMF, those apprentices for GMF, perform the identical work to apprentices with the Ironworkers Local 397. Okay, so, and I'll have the Ironworkers Local 397 provide to you their wage scale and benefit package so that you can make a true apples-to-apples comparison between workers who are performing the same work, because it was stated by the representative from GMF that those workers receive full benefits. That was a statement that was made. But there's a difference between benefits being offered and benefits being provided. So as you conduct your follow-up, it will be important to see if those workers, for instance, if health insurance is a benefit that they are offered, and if their health care premiums are deducted from their paycheck, or if there are full benefits provided, paid for by the company. That'll be one. And it'll be also important to note if those 2 GMF apprentices earn the same hourly wage, or if they are merit-based, and if they are paid an individual wage different than each other for performing the same work. That will be important to note. You'll be able to make a true apples-to-apples comparison between the wage and benefit scale between those GMF workers and the union, the Ironworkers Local 397 apprentices, so that you can see whose wages and whose benefit package is better, but I think we already know the answer to that. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in chambers that wishes to give public comment? Before I go to online, Ms. Sharp, please make a request that you share all the information that you collected with the rest of council members, please, and thank you. Go ahead.
I just wanted to recognize my aide, Kelly Sharp, for sitting here and taking notes, and I just want to say thank you very much. We really appreciate it, and so thank you.
Mr. D'Angelo, are you online?
I am.
Please proceed.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Angel D'Angelo, born and raised in Seminole Heights, and we're talking a lot about the erasing of history. And that's incredibly important in this political climate with what Governor DeSantis is doing with Black history, with gay, queer, and trans history, and any history he doesn't like, also known as the truth. I grew up on Central Avenue in Seminole Heights, and I didn't find out until I was an adult that used to be a bustling Black community known as the Scrub before I-275 was created and destroyed that area. Why would anyone want to keep history hidden? We keep things hidden that we don't want people to know. And Tampa does not want to announce its part in the institution of slavery, of Jim Crow, redlining, mass incarceration, which is still going on today. So we need to protect these cemeteries, and we need to do way more than that. We need to make sure we're doing more than proclamations for Black History Month or any other Heritage Month, and actually doing things that impact lives in East and West Tampa and throughout the city. On top of that, the CRB conversation is ridiculous. Why on earth would they be afraid of an independent attorney? The police are always saying if you have nothing to hide, then you have nothing to worry about. Then what do they have to hide? What is the police union and Mayor Castor so afraid of? We know the answer. We have seen article after article after article of corruption. How many more corruption acts have to happen? How many people have to be killed or wrongfully arrested? We still don't have justice for Jason Westcott. Arthur Green's family had to fight through hell through the courts when Mayor Castor was the chief. People are being killed. Dominique Mulkey needed food, not bullets. This is just, it's ridiculous. And y'all cried and boo-hooed during the 2020 protests. It's gonna happen again if we keep doing the same thing over and over. So an independent attorney is a small ask. It's not radical. It's not serious reform. If you can't do that much, then I guarantee you're going to have more and more and more problems in this city with TPD. Stop being afraid of TPD. Stop being afraid of the mayor. She doesn't care about any of you. She cares about her political career. Your legacy needs to be about the people, because this mayor, she's going to win this election, unfortunately. She's going to be the mayor for another 4 years, and then she's going to go away and probably go maybe try to be governor or whatever she wants to do. Don't be afraid of her, because you need to be afraid of us, the people. And also, I just want to point out that developers always get extra time in their public comments, but oftentimes people in the community, especially when it's issues that y'all don't like when it's about the police, don't, and that's unacceptable. Developers don't run this city. We, the people, do, or at least we should. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Cothran, are you online? She is not online. Again, is there anyone else in chambers who wishes to speak to public comment? Chief Bennett. Chief, we just had a wonderful celebration last Saturday that involved 300,000 people within our city. Would you like to give a report on that, please?
I'd be happy to. John Bennett, Chief of Staff. Good morning, Council. Good morning, public. So as everybody understands, our day parade, known as Pirate Fest, happened last Friday evening into Saturday and into Saturday evening. I think it's worth recognizing that for a couple seconds that it's been part of Tampa's history since 1904. So next year would actually be the 120th celebration of that event. So in that regard, thanking the leadership involved with the crew. Event Fest has been supporting that event for the city and with the public-private partnership for 30 years. The successive leadership on council and of course supporting the administration and the workforce, I think is all something to be recognized, to bring 300,000 folks together and celebrate on the water and land. Of course, the city departments need to be recognized, the public safety groups, fire, police, emergency management. A full EOC was run with all the support functions during the operational period. Of course, Parks and Recs, who also not only work the event, but do the planning for the event. And of course, our mobility team, our solid waste team, all the public works support to make the event happen, get the roads open. I had commanded that event for many years in the early 2000s after 9/11, and there's a lot of simultaneous things going on, getting the roads open for the Amelie events, for Straz, all those things are important. So there's a lot of choreographing that goes on citywide around this large event. So a lot of respect for the teams there. I know that over 40 tons of solid waste was picked up by 3 different departments overnight. And the thing I've always been most impressed about is you could see it at 6 p.m. on Saturday, and by the time everybody goes back to work on Monday, it's like almost back to its pristine shape. And lastly, I think it's very important to recognize the 30 local, state, and federal agencies, especially in law enforcement, that serve on the water and the land, but highlighting the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office and Sheriff Chad Chronister, and highlighting the Florida Highway Patrol, who work the neighborhoods and the event route, and then the balance of those 30 agencies at the local, state, and federal level have been our partners in Homeland Security and Defense since 9/11, and they all come here within the region to support public safety on the land and the water for this operational period. So I appreciate the request for us to give a quick after action. You know, the community engagement and the text messaging between the city and the public was made available. So hopefully we can learn from feedback from the community and the departments and do it better for the 120th celebration next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Any comments or questions? I will say that. Okay, I was looking over that. I didn't see you. I'm sorry. Councilman Carlson, you're recognized. No, I'm going to make the last comment.
Mr. Bennett, I just want to ask you something separate. Over the last few months, we've had many discussions with the Water Department about the Pure project, and to my understanding, the Pure project, as stated by the Water Department, is dead or not moving forward. A couple weeks ago, we had an item that still had the Pure name on it, but the department assured us that Pure is not going forward. It just happened to have that name on it still, and even the department pushed back and said we don't want to put the name on it because the project doesn't exist anymore. But 3 days ago, the mayor had created a video that talked about the Pure project, defended the Pure project, and advocated for the Pure project. And I know it's not necessarily your department, but could you please just explain to us, and I've gotten a lot of confused calls from people who thought Pure was dead, that there would be some other kind of process going forward that would analyze objectively the alternatives. But with the mayor's video, it's causing a lot of confusion and concern in the community. Thank you.
I think it would be best handled by the department, but based on what I know, I think what we have discussed in the chambers and, of course, working with staff is, and what has been conveyed from what I have watched from the departments is Pure as a project is not moving forward, but the elements that support water reuse are continuing to be explored to make sure that we have a sustainable water supply, a sustainable environment at the best cost, at the highest quality. So I think the idea of water reuse is still going on, but Pure as a project hasn't been discussed going forward.
Thank you, and I'll address the statements that were made in there when we talked to the Water Department. Thank you.
Chief, getting back to your report on Gasparilla, I would like to thank so many departments out there that helped make Gasparilla a safe parade. Our fire, our police, our paramedics, our mobility, parks and recreation, wastewater. But as you stated, most importantly, our brothers and sisters in solid waste. The work they did in a matter of 5-6 hours, cleaning up all the trash and debris along Bay Shore and downtown, and opening up our roads. To me, that is one of the 7 wonders of the world that they can get it done that quickly. So I thank Solid Waste, but I thank all of Tampa's family, all of the departments that have worked to make our parade the 3rd largest parade in the country, second only to Macy's Thanksgiving, third only Macy's Thanksgiving and Rose Bowl, a huge and giant success. Thank you, the Tampa City family.
And Chairman, just because I know some of them are here and represented, when I was looking at some of the data behind the work, Parks and Rec and the mobility team, as well as Solid Waste, probably carried this 50 tons of leftover solid waste together. So it really is a combined team sport, and Parks and Rec and solid waste and mobility. The sweepers were out there doing miles and miles of street sweeping. So it is a great effort. So thank you for recognizing everyone.
Thank you all for a great job. Well done. All right. Ms. Travis.
Good morning again. Nicole Travis, Administrative Development and Economic Opportunity. What I have before you this morning is the resolution supporting the First Amendment to contracts of sale of purchase of property from the Tampa Port Authority. This was, the decision to purchase this property was made at the CRA, as a CRA entity, as a board, and then it was codified as a city council. What I'm asking for today is an extension to that contract for 180 days. I'm gonna put an image up on the Elmo. This is what you have in front of you as well. There's an adjacent property owner. The person that's purchasing the adjacent property is interested in doing a small portion of land swap with us. It would allow the adjacent property owner to square off their piece of property, for us to square off our piece of property. In red is the property that the blue is, we haven't closed on the property yet, but the blue is what's in this contract sale, and we're trying to swap that for the red. We would ultimately end up with more square footage at no additional cost. This is a low-risk decision just to extend the contract. I do want to point out that the CAC did vote for us to close without doing this land swap. But if we were to do that and wanted to do the land swap later, we would have to go through an RFP process. As you all know, any disposition of property within a CRA district is required to go through an RFP process. This would allow us to have a simultaneous closing in trading off these pieces of property. So it is low risk. I'm asking for your favorable consideration of 180 days extension to the contract, please.
Councilman Hurtak.
Thank you. Could you leave that up there?
Oh, sure.
Can you point out the property that is under contract?
Okay, hold on, I can't.
Because that's where I'm lost.
To the right.
Morris Massey, Deputy City Attorney. I believe the property under contract, I believe that the property under contract basically extends down here. And so, but there, I think what the trade-off is, there's a tail of the property that goes, that's really unusable, that goes up between the buildings. They're looking to get that tail while giving us property on the side potentially, which would increase and square off the piece.
Okay, thank you. I thought so, but I just wanted to make sure where that property was. Thank you.
Councilman Goods.
I don't have a problem. I just want to make sure that the CAC is informed properly of why the holdup is, and so they understand the parameters of which you're trying to obtain, and you don't want to get into a legal situation, so they know versus why is it being done now, so they'll understand why you're doing what you're doing.
Sure.
Councilman Miranda.
No, I'm just listening right now. They're asking for what, 188?
We're asking for 180 days to the extension to the contract.
Any other comments or questions?
That's like 6 months.
Sure.
Move the resolution.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Hurtak. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion passes.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Did you have one other item, Ms. Travis?
I only have the one walk-on item.
Thank you.
I'll come back to you on, I think, number 14.
Thank you. We will now go to agenda item number 4, file number F2379602.
Good morning, City Council. Kelly Austin, Director of Human Resources and Talent Development, and I'm accompanied today by our Benefits Manager, Tony Hagler, and I'm happy to answer any questions on the memo that was submitted for number 4. That was an RFP that was done for our Wellness Center with CareATC being the awarded participant, and we respectfully ask for your approval on that contract. It's a 3-year contract with 2 one-year renewals.
Thank you. Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Chairman. Just for the clarity for the public to understand,
Sure.
wellness centers could be in anything, can be more elaborate, where they're at, what they do for the public, and how it helps
Absolutely.
your overall insurance cost.
Sure. Thank you. That's a great question. So we have 2 wellness centers presently. We have one on Himes Avenue, which is our larger of the 2, and we have one currently in Brandon. Those wellness centers are available to all City of Tampa employees. They are also used by qualified dependents. And even though the unions are on the healthcare trust, they also have access to the wellness centers. There are a multitude of drugs that are available at no cost if they're prescribed through the wellness centers. And the visits are of no charge. There's no copay if you use the wellness centers. So we have seen a return of about $2.20 to every dollar spent as an investment on these wellness centers. They've been in inception since 2011. And those people that don't typically go to the doctor tend to use these wellness centers because of the convenience and the no cost.
So in other words, even though the general public is not going there, they're benefiting from the cost because it lowers the insurance cost overall.
The overall cost, that would be a correct statement, yes, sir.
Thank you so very much. I remember that long time ago when somebody started it.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
When we talked about this issue on Tuesday, you also mentioned the fact that Hannah City Center will also have a 3rd location.
That's correct. There will be a satellite office at the Hannah location. Currently, it's earmarked to have 1 physician and 2 medical assistants, so it's not going to be a big, large, full-blown, but it will be a substantial piece of office space that will be able to be used primarily by the employees that work at that location.
Councilman Carlson.
For the sake of the public interest, would you mind just briefly describing the RFP process, how this firm ranked compared to the others, and how they were selected? Thank you.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So I was not on the committee. My manager was on the committee along with other members from the city staff. There were 8 proposers that submitted to be considered for a wellness center contract with the city. CareATC did score the highest, and the committee did recommend that we award the contract to them, and I concur with that. There were no protests, there were no questions about the RFP. Sure.
Ms. Austin, thank you very much, Councilwoman Hurtak, for bringing up the Wellness Center at the New Hannah Street project. We're going to have 5 departments there, but there were 500 people. When this concept came to us, that was the first request I made to have a wellness center. Why should we have all those employees in one place just for them to go to a doctor's visit or if they have a runny nose or something? So thank you very much. Thank you,
Sure.
Councilwoman, for bringing that up.
Absolutely.
Okay, we have a resolution. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Miranda.
I'm sorry? In 2011.
Yes, thank you.
Move the resolution.
We have a motion by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Goods. Any further discussion? All in favor? Excuse me, roll call vote.
Hurtak,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Goods,
Yes.
Vieira,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
and Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Council.
Ms. Austin. Agenda item number 5, file number PW 2379583.
Good morning, Council. Chairman, Council, Larry Washington, Director of Solid Waste Environmental Program Management. You can see my full face. I submitted a memo in regards to the approval for a purchase of 8 CNG Sidewinder side loader vehicles. So that's our residential routes. And the total is $3.8 million. The memo was submitted earlier, 2 weeks prior. I wanted to see if you had any questions about the memo or questions about the process or the vehicles themselves.
Councilman Maniscalco.
So these are compressed natural gas units?
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. If there's no other
These are
questions-
simply replacement vehicles as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Chairman. Again, this is something that's very well needed for the citizens of the city. You have natural gas compression engines, and better for the air quality we have, along with the automatic loaders and so forth and so on. And that way, the people from Mr. Simon's unit, they want to, without them, the city of Tampa wouldn't run. This is the reason why we're buying these things, to make sure that the public gets the best service possible. And as you see, the unit price is almost $500,000 a unit. So it's very costly to run every department in the city, and the garbage rate is commensurate with that. But we're fine. The garbage rate, I think, is about $30-some a month, and they pick it up twice a week. So you can't get a bargain better than that anywhere. Thank you very much for doing what you do, and we appreciate the public's, sometimes gets a little upset when Gasparilla comes around or something, and they're an hour late picking up your garbage. But we love you guys, all of you, and thank you for what you do for the community, and the community really likes what you do.
Thank you, sir.
Move the resolution.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Goods. Any further discussions? Roll call vote.
Carlson,
Yes.
Goods,
Yes.
Vieira,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Hurtak,
Yes.
and Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Agenda item number 6, file number CM 22-78961.
Good morning, council. I'm Ruth Kate with the Tampa Police Department on the Major District 1. I'm here to talk on agenda items 6 and 7, so I'll start with 6 first. This agenda item is specifically asking the Tampa Police Department to discuss the concerns about crime along Main Street, specifically the section from Armenia to Rome. This portion is part of the West Tampa CRA district. As we all know, December 4th, 2022, there was a shooting at 1914 West Main Street. A female was at a local business, and a small group of people were involved in a dispute, which resulted in a shooting. This small group of individuals that were there, they were patronizing a business, a sidewalk cafe, and they were there just for that, to consume food and drink when this incident happened. It's unfortunate that a select group of individuals, bad behavior resulted in this woman's death. But I will tell you that the Tampa Police Department has already made 1 arrest in relation to this incident. This investigation is still open, so I'm not able to go further detail in the investigation, but there's more forthcoming. So I expect you to hear more about that in the near future. Main Street is the heart of West Tampa. The city and the CRA are actively supporting the community and its revitalization and the increase in businesses, restaurants, event venues, and affordable housing in the area. The Tampa Police Department is active in the West Tampa CRA Advisory Committee. I've sat there at meetings with several council that are here today. We attend all of those monthly meetings, and we recently accepted an invitation to participate in the CRA's Public Safety Subcommittee. We will be sitting on that. For the entire year of 2021, the Tampa Police Department only received 8 calls for service in this specific area related to shots fired. I went through each of those 8 calls to explain what happened to each of them. Of those 8, 2 were actually fireworks. Officers responded to 4 calls where there were reports of shots fired, but they searched the area and they didn't find any damage and they didn't find any bullet casings. There was 1 call that resulted in property damage to a home. There were no injuries. And there was 1 call on February 5th, 2021, where property damage was sustained to 2 businesses and 1 person was shot in the leg. Fast forward to 2022, we had 6 calls for service. So our calls were already going down. 2 calls were actually fireworks. 1 where the officers responded, they did not see anything and there were no casings found. And there was 1 call where a citizen heard gunshots, and we got multiple calls from more citizens saying there were gunshots. The officers diligently searched the area and they did not find anything. There was still one call where a citizen observed someone actually discharge a firearm. When the officers arrived, they did not locate that individual. And then we have the one case that we just talked about on December 4th that resulted in the homicide of the young lady. Fortunately, since December 4th, we have not received any calls for service related to shots fired along the Main Street corridor. We've had none this year. The bottom line is that one shooting is one too many. Anytime there's a report of shots fired, the officers respond in a priority mode. What are we doing as an agency to combat crime along the Main Street area? The city is committed to improving natural surveillance around the businesses and public property to deter any criminal activity. Examples are the LED lighting that's going along Main Street. This is a project that's been going on for several years. We're cleaning up the debris and the overgrowth in the alleyways along Main Street. We all have a duty to care for the properties within the city. And we've partnered with the other city entities such as Neighborhood Enhancement Team, Code Enforcement, and Mobility. We're working on changing the habits of citizens in the community for the better. A posting of signage in the area for the South Sines Park, which is actually about to go under a big renovation. We actually did a porch roll call, I think with Mr. Maniscalco. I did a porch roll call with you a few years ago. And we're supporting the CRA in their purchase of the parcel formerly known as Freedom Park. That actually hasn't been turned over to the city, but there's much more work to do that, which I'm sure council is aware of. For these projects, the police department has partnered with Parks and Recs also for the parks. And as you know, the CRA added surveillance cameras to the major intersections along Main Street, a tool that can be used by law enforcement when needed. All of these measures have helped to assist the Tampa Police Department in preventing crime and solving crimes when they occur. I'm very excited to report that this weekend our new deployment starts. And how will that affect the Main Street in the West Tampa area? Previously, the majors and the chiefs, we go together and we do strategy and we say, what happened last year? What can we do better next year? So this deployment, I'm happy to report that District 1 is getting an additional squad to help us in the West Tampa area. Right now, we have a plainclothes squad that primarily works Tuesday through Friday. They can adjust hours when needed, but we're gonna have 2 plainclothes squads that work the day shift that will be there 7 days a week, and they will be targeting this area. You may not always see the officers, but that doesn't mean that they're not there because some of them are plainclothes officers. They're gonna see the crime before that happens. That's what we want them to do. We want them to sit back. We want them to do surveillance themselves in addition to the tools that I just talked about and help solve the crime in the area. But we always encourage citizens, anybody to report criminal behavior. We have a bunch of new ways that are reaching out to this younger generation. We have tip 411, where people can actually text the crime to us because we know some people don't want to call us on the phone and they want to remain anonymous. So we just encourage anybody seeing anything in the West Tampa area to just please call us. The officers will come, we will respond, but more importantly, we're going to be out there proactively patrolling, and you should see an enhancement in officers in the near future.
We'll go to Councilman Maniscalco first.
Thank you very much for that in-depth report. I know that on that specific case, we can't discuss it because it's open and active. However, I am meeting with the community this week. It's a 1 o'clock meeting. I don't know if TPD will be there. They just contacted me directly. You know, you said it. One shooting is one too many. And so many people are working together from all walks of life to revitalize that area. That used to be, you know, historic downtown West Tampa, a vibrant commercial corridor, and we're making progress. South Sines Park, Freedom of Speech Park, little by little. However, I'm happy that you mentioned that a new squad will be assigned to cover that area. People have asked me time and time again, we never see a police car, we never see a police car. But you stated that you have plainclothes officers that are working there, that they may not see the uniform, doesn't mean that police doesn't have a presence. I mean, there's just, I never understood the gun violence and the shootings, why people resort to that. I mean, this isn't prohibition, this isn't the Wild West, this is shooting people in the streets, why people automatically go to the gun, you know? I mean, what do they prove with that? They destroy their life and somebody else's life, but at the same time, it's hurting the community as a whole. There are a lot of business owners in that area, some longer than others, that have invested a lot of money, not for profitability, but because they believe in that neighborhood. They could go anywhere else. I know a lot of them, they're very wealthy, and they could take their business elsewhere, but they believe in West Tampa. However, without partnerships like we're talking about with TBT and the changes that you're making and improving that area, you know, we're always going to be in the same position. What happened with the recent murder was horrible, you know, from what I've seen in the news. And what, again, it's an open case, we can't discuss it. Nobody deserves that. Lives are ruined for whatever the reason was. But talking to business owners, especially on Main Street, I know one shut down the public part of their business, their tasting room or their retail side, because of shootings. A neighboring business, how many times has he contacted me with photos of bullet holes in the windows? And this is over several years, but these individuals are frustrated. Again, they can pack up and leave and go somewhere else, these business owners, but they don't, because they believe in West Tampa. And we have to work better together. And I know you're working hard. I know you're there. And I appreciate this report, but I hope that we can put an end to this. You know, these unnecessary shootings, this violence, we're not going to attract more people coming there. It's so busy. People come off the interstate. That's the first thing they see is Main Street and Howard. And then you go Main Street and Albany, and you see all the growth. Armature Works on the other side. You see Julian Lane Park. You see all the new housing down Main Street closer to Boulevard. But it's got to keep trickling down this way. You know, a rising tide lifts all boats, but we have to be equitable. So we get rid of this nonsense and this violence. Thank you very much.
Councilman Goods.
Well, I don't care how many police you put down there. That ain't the problem. See, crime and elements of crime come when you have blight and slum. I've met with the CRA manager. I've met with the folks on West Tampa. I went to several meetings. And I instructed the manager, and I've talked to Ms. Travis about that, Mr. Drumgo. We have to start buying up the property on Main Street. See, once you can control property, you can control your elements. Once you buy property, you can control the element. And the CRA has to start being in the business of real estate to buy up those properties on Main Street to get some of those buildings that are dilapidated, that are falling down, that attract those bad elements, like the park. The other park to the west, went to the east. We have to fix the places up, and those folks won't come. Having the police there is good. We didn't know about the camera system not working, which I don't know why we didn't know about that, because the CRA had purchased them. So we should have known if those cameras were down, if there's an internet process that's wrong. The CRA has money to fix those things. So to me, it was no excuse for it not to be working. If something happened on a tower or something was changed, we weren't notified. Things do happen. But I'm glad we're trying to fix that problem. I believe we're fixing that issue with the monitoring of the cameras, right, Ruth? Is that correct?
All the cameras are currently working. There is one camera that needs to be replaced, or at least fixed. It was damaged. It was mounted on an electrical pole that was removed, and a new pole was put into place. And the vendor actually took the camera with them, unbeknownst to us. And now the camera is back. But unfortunately, we all know that since COVID, electrical parts are very hard to get a hold of, so we're waiting for the parts to fix that camera. But other than that, all of the cameras along the Main Street corridor are working. That doesn't mean that occasionally there might be a hiccup, because most of them do run on cellular service. And if you won't get all 4 bars on your cell phone if you have one. I'm sure everybody has one on some days, but most of the time. They're always working, but they are all in good working order now.
So I think now that we have programs that are coming, I always talk about the implementation now. So I think now with Ms. Travis and her team, will start implementing some of these processes, especially when you talk about getting those properties bought, looking at real development in those communities. We can eradicate a lot of those issues that are occurring. Those bad people, they're gonna move away. They're not gonna stay with things are nice and popping, because they know those owners are gonna speak up. They're gonna talk out. They're gonna be pounding the pavement saying, this is our business here, we're not gonna tolerate this. So I think once we are able to get those dollars spent in West Tampa on that corridor, I believe we'll solve a lot of this problem. Sometimes you have things that just happen. Things do happen, it's reality. And you can't control crimes of passion, you can't control things sometimes, because the police could be there and go down the street to another call right quick and someone acts a fool. Things do happen, so we have to be mindful of that. But I'm glad that we're having these conversations. I'm glad now we're going to make a few changes to make things better. And I think with the police department, working with the public safety committee, with the CRA, and Ms. Travis and her team, I think we'll try to kind of move the needle a little bit. But thank you for your work, Ruth.
Councilman Vera.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Madam, for this report and for all the hard work that you do. You know, I wanted to bring up two things. First, what we were talking about earlier with the apprenticeships, which is when I look at crime in communities, there's a lot of different ways to fight crime. One of them is to give people hope and equip people with the skills that they need in life to show them that there's a better life than some of the bad things you find on the streets. Like I always say with this apprenticeship program, for example, you take a young person graduating from maybe King, maybe Jefferson, Middleton, one of our high schools, whatever high school it may be, and you show them that there is a real future out there and you give people hope, you're going to be dealing with things like preventing crime, and that's very important. There's also another issue to this that Councilman Maniscalco had brought up as well, which is the businesses and the effect that crime has on a city's livability, and how a number of cities, I don't believe Tampa did this, and by the way, when I say this, I'm not talking about anyone on Tampa City Council. I know we're in election season, this is anything of that nature, but a lot of cities, well, I'll say this, I went with my son about 6 months ago, we went to Portland, Oregon, in a beautiful state. Oregon is such a beautiful, amazing state, God's country in so many parts out there. But you take a look at what's happened in Portland recently. When I was there in September or October, they had about 800 shootings at that time. In 2022, Portland would go on to have well over 1,000, I think about 1,200 shootings, about 100 homicides within Portland, because that's one city where they attacked their police and they disowned their police. And guess what happens? And I know, obviously you do this, I'm preaching to the choir here, I know. When you do that, you attack businesses, you attack livability, you attack families, because people in all of our major American cities want us to support law enforcement and support our police and to give our police the tools and the equipment they need to succeed. That's something that I think is such an important lesson that we've seen from many cities, Minneapolis, Portland, et cetera, et cetera. We were, by the way, in Oregon to visit the last blockbuster on earth. You can't make that up. And we had a great time. And it's a beautiful, beautiful state, but we actually stayed in Portland and whatnot. So again, when you take a look at this issue of crime and the reaction that of some cities had, Tampa, I submit, did not, and no one in this council, I'm saying by inference or directly did, because it's election time, you know, that reaction to police undermines public safety, it undermines families, it undermines some of our most vulnerable communities who have to live in that, and it undermines the business and the quality of life. And thank God we haven't gone to that extreme in Tampa, and we never, ever should. And I think that all parts of our city, whether East Tampa, North Tampa, West Tampa, South Tampa, support that idea. And I know our city council does, and our mayor does, et cetera, and we should continue to fight to affirm that idea. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Major, for everything you said, and you're absolutely correct in the mannerism. If you see the cops, you run away, think everything is fine, but when they're undercover, you have no spotters that can spot them. They can't call in. Years back, there was no cell phones. Now you can communicate with yourself like you had your own entity, your way of doing business illegally. When you look at that area you're talking about, it's really turned the corner. Well, that for the better, I mean. When you look at the businesses right across the street on Howard and Main on the northwest corner, there's a new building really that the individual redone, spent I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars, because there's two businesses there now. And when you look at the southeast corner of Howard and Main, the old bank building, If you want to have a good taco, go there because they're made in front of you, and that they're very delicious. I've been there. And if you go just north on Howard, about a block and a half, on the right-hand side, there's a new Cuban, they say Cuban foods, I almost say exactly what the sign says, and it even tells you the price. I haven't been in it yet, but I'm going to try it. So the business is changing, the atmosphere is changing, and when you see more and more units of individuals moving back in on the east side of Main Street all the way to North Boulevard, you're going to see a complete change because people bring those individuals that are not doing for the right things in life, like shooting a gun or something, they'll go somewhere else because it's spotted too easily. The chances of catching is 100% better than when it's vacant land. I'm concerned a little bit about the block just east of Howard and Main. It's a small block. Behind there, there's a big parking lot. And I've been there once and just driving by, and I saw something I didn't like, and I reported it. And I don't know what happened, but that's one area, it's a parking lot that sometimes you see some suspicious activity, let me put it that way. And I appreciate what you're doing, what the police department is doing, and proactively trying to stop something. And that's what police work is all about, trying to stop crime without getting hurt themselves or hurting someone else. And I appreciate your uniform and what you have to go through, and thank you, muchísimas gracias por todo.
Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, a couple things. One, thank you for all your help in South Tampa. In particular, you and your colleagues always respond very quickly to us and to my legislative aid. Also, I want to just address Councilmember Vieira's comments real fast. This city council has supported, I think it has supported every proposal the administration has put forward to support the police. Even when many of our friends and colleagues in the community were asking us to cut the budget of the police, we supported it, and we got a lot of flack on that. But we know that we need to keep our community safe, and so we did that. Despite all of our support, the crime rate is going up, and we know that the murder rate and the aggravated assault rate in particular is going up in this city. And we need to fully support the hardworking men and women who put their lives on the line every day, but we need better leadership. We need better policies and better leadership to reduce these crime rates. And the people throughout the city are not happy with it, and in particular in South Tampa, they're not happy with it. And one of the basic things is there aren't enough police officers. As much as Major and her staff work hard, they need help. The hardworking men and women of the police are stressed out. Compared to Pamela Arroyo's time, we're down about 200 police officers, and so we need to seriously look at that and other policies to support their efforts to reduce crime. I want to set up number 7. If you want to make a final comment on number 6, and then I would just like to set up number 7 before she gets into that.
Thank you. I'd like to do that, please, and thank you. But first, I'd like Chief Bennett, you wanted to say something? And then I will make my comments.
Just, I wanted to thank John Bennett, Chief of Staff. I want to thank the Major for her report and the comments and the feedback. They're always helpful. I just wanted to mention that about a decade ago, and this challenges all of us, and I had asked Chief Burkhaw, Interim Chief Burkhaw, to consider this with the new deployment to get more community engagement involved, is when I was the Major's rank, I rode a bicycle around my neighborhood almost every day with the kids going to school, talk to people at the fence lines. When we have concentrated transformation going on, I'm hoping we can see more bike officers out there, get down and engage with the community. And just going back to Gasparilla, almost every agency brought a bike squad over here and rode the backside of the community to see things and get rid of the barriers and have that engagement. And I can tell you, when we did that a decade ago, and this deployment's going to mimic coming back to those kind of levels of community engagement, ShotSpotter was just in its infancy stage, and I had no data citywide that would support using ShotSpotter. It was not concentrated enough. And so I think we can actually put these deployment schemes together, working with the community, support from council, support on the resources as the city grows, but we have to get that interface stronger. And I know they're working really hard on that deployment, as she mentioned, the strategic change. So I just wanted to kind of go back in history and talk about that. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Good, you're
Chief Bennett,
recognized.
I talked about community engagement last night at the meeting at the Allen Temple heavily. I think that is important, that officers are engaged with the people, knowing the people. But people are talking about the lack of police presence throughout the city. If we are down, the city is growing leaps and bounds. People are coming here every day. That means more people. That means you need possibly more cops in the street to be able to see and observe and do what we need to do. So I think eventually we're going to need to have a report of actually how many officers, sworn officers, as far as street, on patrol, how many you have in your DLS units, how many you have actually in your latent investigation, so people can see the breakdown of what you have. And if there is a shortfall, I hear command staff say we're down maybe 20 officers, but you hear officers on the street say we're down way more officers than that. So we need to, this council needs to have a factual data. If you're down, so be it. You're down. If it's 200, it's 200. We need to know that. The public needs to know that. That way, if you say when budget time comes, I need money for police, you don't have community and citizens saying defund the police. You don't need police. But I have people in East Tampa who say, damn it, we're tired of shootings every day. We don't see police presence, because if you got a squad that's working on homicide work or something, no, you ain't got no police because there's nobody there. I mean, I know how it works. So if we are down a multitude of officers, let's just figure out what that number is, because the city is growing. People are coming here every day. So I think it's going to come a time that we need to get a report from you and the chief of actually what's the real number. If the number's 100, so be it. It's 100, but we need to know what the real number is.
So thank you for those questions, and I think it is important the public knows two things about deployments. One's efficiency and one's equity. We want to make sure every neighborhood has the same level of service at every doorstep, 24/7, in public safety, fire, police, emergency management. The other side of it is I have a standard goal for every department to not be less than 5% down in attrition. And if they are above 5%, they're supposed to hold a task force with HR and see how they can close that gap. Doesn't matter what department it is, solid waste, parks, police, anybody else. The police is, and going back to my years, 8 years ago plus 30 years, every month they do a personnel review report of the demographics of the agency and the vacancy rate, and I've never seen a 200 number that I've experienced. So if somebody has that methodology, they're getting 200, I'm happy to sit down, but that's not what's important. I think what I'm hearing, the public are hearing, is what do we need to go forward? And I think that's a good understanding. The national average is about 2.5 per thousand. We were at 3.2 per thousand back in the early 2003 era, but through efficiency and technology, the calls of service last year have gone down. About 49% of the calls for service in the police are from the community. About 51% of those, the larger number, are community engagement from the police doing proactive work. So the calls have gone down over the last couple of years, including now coming out of COVID. They still trajectory lower than what they were before. So we have to look at the growth, make sure, obviously, the crime. There's a lot of ingredients that go into a deployment, and I think once they hit this optimized deployment, which just went through shift bid, we can come back with a report about the gap of what we need going forward and making sure that every neighborhood has what they need to be successful.
Through the drop, how many we losing each year through the drop?
I'm sorry?
How many officers we
Well, it ebbs and flows. I mean,
right, because sometimes you can have a big year.
Yeah, it does ebb and flow, and you can have but the beauty of that is it's planned exodus, if you will. The other ones are the unplanned. So, you can look over the last 5 years and say, okay, we have 20 people on the drop, and I know Chairman Citro has talked about, well, if you hire 20 and 20 leave the next month, you're really in net zero. And the one thing about the police department, I'm working with Chief Tripp on the fire side, is to have an overhire policy so the attrition could be smaller. And what that technically means is that through our scholarship to recruit the best and the brightest, especially from the city of Tampa, and pay their way through the academy and everything else, we can do an overhire plan so there's a less time between the hiring process and hitting the street. TPD has had that for some time, and I'm working with Chief Tripp to see if we can do that in the fire department in this upcoming budget.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
Thank you. Don't go too far, Chief Bennett. I'm glad you brought up this conversation because I know that we're going through a shift change or a shift bid, and folks are going to be moving to different departments. And that is what I've heard from the community, that they're concerned that they're going to lose their officer and that they have new people coming in. So I just wanted you to take this time, if you could just talk to the public and share what are the processes when a new officer joins a different squad, a different neighborhood? How does the department encourage those folks to get to know the new space? Do they shadow an officer who was already there for a little while to get to know people that they can talk to and frequent? Like, what does that look like?
It's an excellent question about community engagement. So in the collective bargaining agreement, officers based on tenure or seniority are allowed to shift bid one time a year. We have approached the union and have discussed the idea of working together to have what would be called a dynamic shift bid instead of a once a year shift bid, meaning as a position opens, if you're first on the list, then it would be less challenging to do it almost all the time as opposed to a big move. But this is what the union has asked for, and so far we haven't been successful in converting that thought process. However, the two important parts of what you asked is what happens in shift bid and how do we reacclimate to the community when those officers move around or get removed to somewhere else. So that's their choice. I will tell you that the numbers traditionally when I had it were very low because most people become part of that community and they don't want to leave. They know all of the community members, they know the schools, they know the businesses, and they really don't want to go. And a lot of it is done, and Councilman Goods may support this thought, based on the leadership of that squad. They will follow that leader. And a lot of times those leaders, I had senior people that didn't want to get off midnights. They stayed on midnights for 30 years, and those officers followed that leader. But the second time, for those that do move, one thing that I started in 2009, which I think still goes on today, is any community member can hold a porch roll call where those squads can have roll call on their front porch. And we started it in Seminole Heights and it blossomed around the city. But the challenge is to get the neighborhood association leaders, the neighborhood watch leaders to ask for those porch roll calls. And you get introduced to the squad and you get to understand on both cycles who your officers are. And you get cell phone numbers and those kind of things really blossom the community engagement.
Following that, which is very true, I think it's critical to do that. I didn't know when a new officer joins an area. I know that crime watches are divided into grids. They don't necessarily correspond to neighborhoods per se. They try, but they don't always. One of the concerns that the community has voiced about that program is that they do not know who their surrounding representatives are, if that makes any sense. So if you're in grid, I believe 58 is one in Seminole Heights we worked in all the time. They don't know if there's someone in 59 and who that person is. There's not a lot of continuity or sharing of that information, and I think that might help with not only roll calls but introductions to new officers and areas. I would really love to explore with you offline how we can empower more community activists in that role to partner with one another to provide better eyes and ears for officers in general, and just the safety between communities. And right now, again, speaking from experience as a neighborhood leader, that can be siloed at times. And neighborhood leaders find it very frustrating that they can't talk to their counterparts. And that's something I would really love to work with you on, because I think that will go a long way toward making sure we all communicate better.
Makes sense.
Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, and to both Major and to you, Chief Depp. I think the public's got to know how long it takes to produce an officer. you say we can bring them in, but I think at the end of the day, when they go through everything, you gotta spend, what, 4 or 5 months riding in a car with another officer to learn all the processes and things that you see or don't see and what you hear. It's not just hiring somebody and say, here's your badge, go do it, even though you graduated and so forth and so on. So can you just explain that very shortly on how it's done? I think that's very important.
Yeah, so the recruitment cycle, obviously, you're not on the street. And then we're very fortunate here at TPD that a lot of our officers have prior experience and they're already certified. And so their learning curve on the street is shortened.
In fact, let me stop you there. I also hear that other agencies are saying, please don't take any more of our officers. Am I correct?
There is some requests from our partner agencies to help because they're challenged with getting recruiting, and some of the salaries that council has supported against inflation for our public safety officers goes a long way. So it's very attractive to work here. It's been that way since I've been here in 1984. But I will say, going back to your original question, is when an officer hits the street, they go through a field training program, which is 5 phases. And you have your initial phase, second, third, fourth, and then 5th phase is the balance of your probation. So just to make it simple, an officer to truly be on their own and off probation takes a year. But about half of that, they're in that last phase where they really are working as an independent resource on their final squad, or his or her final squad. So I always like to say a year. That's why we created the overhire program, so we can overlap and reduce the attrition rate between the planned departures that Councilman Goods talked about in the drop, as well as making sure we keep that 5%, which in a 1,000-person department or just under that would be 50 or less. Not to mention, a lot of things that don't get spoken of very often is the size of our reserve force. So we have a lot of retired officers that stay on as a volunteer reserve officer, and they have to donate so many hours a month as part of that volunteer program, and that's offset by working special events and working in some of the extra duty jobs. So when I had it, there was over 100. I don't know what the numbers are today, but to Councilman Good's point, I think we can come back and give all of that right after this deployment settles coming up.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you for this report. People want to feel safe. People want to make sure they're safe in their homes. Businesses want to go and open into areas that they know are safe. This shooting on Main Street, this cowardice act, doesn't make people feel safe. When you have a shift, let's just say there's 3 officers. One is sick, one's out on training, and another has family leave. That means you got to pull from other areas of the city. Back when we were talking about budget, my request was for more staffing. More staffing, code enforcement, permitting, inspection, fire, and police. I still feel that we need more police officers. We need more presence out there. And some of those police officers need to be on bicycles. Some of them need to get out of their cars and walk the street. This area that we're talking about, as Councilman Miranda had pointed out, there's an area right behind a friend of ours' air conditioning company that there is constant loitering. There's constant drug dealing. And the loitering issue at the corner of Main and Howard is a problem. But ladies and gentlemen, the police officers can't do it themselves. And I know it's an old, overused expression, but if you see something, say something. We need your help as citizens to help our police force, to help keep your neighborhood safe. Thank you, Major. Councilman Carlson, you want to go into agenda item number 7?
Yeah, just to set up number 7 real fast, there were some public comments this morning about biking while black, and this is not that. This is not about people, innocent people, riding a bicycle on the street. This was a specific question, a specific issue that happened in South Tampa, at least. I don't know if it happened in other areas, but there was a group of, you're going to tell us, I think, there was a group of about 15 people who would surround cars and bicycles, and the feedback we saw online and verbally was that they felt like they were threatened and terrorized. And so there were many people from neighborhoods and individuals who reached out to help, and your team stepped in, and I think you have some positive news to And I'll let you go. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, council. Yes, I'm here on this second agenda item to discuss council's concerns and the citizens' concerns about bicyclists that are riding and causing dangerous situations. There was one particular date in early December where it happened in South Tampa, closer to the Davis Island area. So first, I would like to say that when officers come into contact with any large group of cyclists like the one that we're discussing, the best way to combat the bad cycling behavior is always to educate the riders. It's so important for us to first come in contact with that group and speak to them. We always want to do education first rather than immediately impose enforcement. I first heard of the cyclist situation in early December, as I just said. And when I heard about it, I immediately got with my shift commanders because there was another date of concern upcoming the following Sunday where this group was reported to going to assemble again. So we wanted to be out in front of that. We put together a little operation plan for the officers. We monitored the area. We also monitored the traffic cameras that were available to us through the Real-Time Crime Center, and they didn't come. So we did not hear about this group or any more formation of this group coming until the Children's Gasparilla Parade. Again, we addressed it by putting together a mini operations plan. This one was led by Lieutenant Bridgman in District 3. He actually did come in contact with the group. There were 13 riders. I also saw the group. There were 13 riders. They did not go to the Children's Parade. They stayed away from there, and they ended up going north towards District 2, the Busch Gardens area, and they rode their bikes, and he did speak to them. They were respectful of him. He reminded them of the roadways. So he said, you know, it's very dangerous when you do your wheelies on your bicycle. Please don't do that. Some were younger, some were older. It was a mixed group. It was all races, all ages, adults and juveniles that were riding their bikes. So I, too, have encountered a group of cyclists in the downtown area. I know you guys know I work the Amelia Arena. I see many of y'all there. There was 5 in particular, and they actually were walking their bike through the intersection. And they stopped to talk to me. One kid told me he was from Boston. He was joking around. And we looked at their bikes. They all had the proper bike equipment on them. I just reminded them to be safe because the habit is to just go straight into traffic and counterflow traffic. I reminded them they can't do that. And they walked over to the new Water Street district and they were pushing their bikes. So they were very respectful. In comparing the concerns here in Tampa with other cities, I found that another way that those other jurisdictions are combating bad cycling behavior is by improving their infrastructure. Tampa's already doing this. We just saw the big renovation that went on Cass Street from the downtown area to the University of Tampa. We have it right here in front of City Hall along Jackson Street. So we're encouraging more cycling. So we will see more cyclists in our areas of all ages, different types of groups coming, and they do sometimes ride in bigger groups than we want them to, but we are reminding cyclists, do not ride more than 2 tandem because it's not safe. And we also have measures that we want the drivers to know. There's distracting behavior by the cyclists. We don't want them to focus on the distracting behavior. Even if you're in a car or if you're on your bike and you come to an intersection at the same time, yield the right of way to the other person if it looks like it's going to interfere with your skills. And that's a recommendation from some of the other communities. Just wave those cyclists through. Let them go by you. And you as a cyclist group can do the same thing. Wave the drivers through. If there's only one car sit there, please have your group wait. Let the car go through and let them go. Please be mindful of pedestrians also. The officers are equipped to help the cyclists. I did bring a variety of bike lights that I'll share with council afterwards. These bike lights, we give them out. We partner with the Department of Transportation. We have different kinds because there's all different sizes of bikes. And some of the lights are smaller or bigger, but they illuminate the same, and that will help our cyclists. However, we still know there's concerns and situations where citizens need assistance immediately. And in these situations, we would tell them, please call us. on the situation that we began talking about, we were not called. The citizens got exasperated because they used a community forum on social media, and it just snowballed into everybody was just, this happened, and we had not received the calls. So if you call us, the officers will respond. They need to get out there immediately. We want the citizens, whether they're on the bike or they're in the car, to get the assistance they need. Please, cyclists and motorists, they need to act in predictable ways. You need to know which each one of them are doing. You can't just go around a car, to catch up with your buddy. So that's what we're trying to do when we come into contact with the cyclists, education, and if we have to, then we will do the enforcement, and we will also, unfortunately, the same for drivers as we have to, of the vehicles. So this past weekend, actually the weekend before, the Children's Gasparilla Parade, we did do a bicycle rodeo. We do a lot of those in the community. We gave up over 200 bicycle helmets and bicycle lights. So we're doing everything we can to encourage good behavior. Sometimes we have to start it with the younger generation because the current generation might already have those bad behaviors. And we don't want to have to start enforcement if we can rely on education. So that's some of the things that we're doing. And I don't know if I should give them to Mr. Shelby. You can see, and I could have just showed to council, we have some really cute blue lights. There's a red flashing light, a white light they can put on there. We have some black and orange ones, and then we have some of the more fancier ones for the bigger bikes. We have some of these, and they recharge. And we also have, you can put it around your chest, so important that you are well illuminated, the reflective things that you need to ride a bike.
I'm going to go to Councilman Maniscalco, then I'm going to go to Councilman Carlson.
Thank you very much. Another area, and this was brought up by our mutual friend Jennifer, the Riverwalk. And I've witnessed this myself, and I received several complaints. They call them biker gangs, but it's young people on bicycles. People are walking on the Riverwalk, and there's nights, Friday nights, Sunday nights, where it's so busy, and they're popping wheelies, just cutting through, and folks saying they're terrorizing us because they're coming right up to us. We don't know if we're going to get hit with the front tire of the bike and all this and that. But I think most recently, within the last 2 weeks, one of the individuals that has constantly complained because he lives here downtown said that police were out there monitoring the area. Finally, I don't know if you had anything to do with that as well, but that situation is getting resolved. But yeah, it's not 15. It would be like 30, 40 bikes, and they were coming through, popping wheelies, doing tricks. But there's people pushing strollers and older folks, and someone's going to get hurt, and people they've come very close to getting hurt. But again, TPD, as of 2 weeks ago, they were out there patrolling and I think talking to folks, and I haven't heard anything since. So if you had anything to do with that, thank you, I appreciate it. So it's been a positive response from the folks from there, so thank you.
Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, just three things real fast. As I remember, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the light program, and I think you all have given out hundreds of, maybe thousands of lights. I think the light program giveaway was a response to Biking While Black because a lot of people that were pulled over didn't have lights. And so I think, stop me if I'm wrong, but I think it was a program that you all set up to show that you were trying to help people not get tickets and not get pulled over. Am I close?
We certainly have the bicycle dashboard, which is a product of that, where you can see all the bike stops that we do in the city. There was a separate initiative, but that has been several years, almost a decade now. But we are doing education. I mean, certainly we weren't targeting Biking While Black while we were at the bicycle rodeo. So these are the lights that we're giving out to the young kids. But we have continued this program. It's not just because of that. It's always anything to do with cycling. We just need them to have the correct equipment, the helmets, and
just to this specific issue that was on this agenda item, there was a specific group where people felt threatened because of the wheelies or the way they were, not just wheelies, but apparently they were doing other things to make people feel threatened. So do you feel, just for public purpose, you feel like that issue is resolved now? You all have had a conversation with them. You didn't have to arrest anybody. You didn't have to find anybody, but you had conversations, and now
we have been going out and actively patrolling the areas in question to try to come in contact with the bicycle groups. They're not always the same people, but we just have to put the word out and encourage good cycling etiquette. And that's what all the officers in all 3 districts, because the River Walk actually isn't in my district, it's in District 3. Major D. Felice is committed to the same education program and coming in contact with the cyclists. And we feel that, yes, it is subsiding. But still, if it happens, it's the same with the shooting. It's one time too many. Please call us. Please don't go to social media and complain on there, and the officers don't know because we don't monitor their social media accounts.
Yeah, and for anybody watching, I think once or twice a year, we're still getting updates on the biking while black numbers, which were coming down, but we're still looking to make sure there aren't disparities throughout the city. The other thing, it's somewhat tangent, but almost every time I drive down Dale Mabry, as an example, I see someone cutting across the road, not at a light. And instead of, I think when cars are on roads like that, they're supposed to act like a car, but instead they just jut across. And I almost see people get hit almost every day. How can we try to resolve those issues to help people not take risks like that?
So one of the things, Tampa is committed, and we have the Vision Zero program that's been implemented for a few years now to increasing our lighted crosswalks. Most notably, it was the Bayshore area, it was Hillsborough Avenue. So we're committed to that. So if you have an area concern and you're seeing repetitive behavior, please let us know. We can go out there and do enforcement activities, start with the education. If we need to, then we'll cite them. So if there's a specific area along the Dale Mabry corridor that you're not seeing us, please let us know and we'll go out there and address
I see it in
that.
Dale Mabry a lot. The other thing I see is people going through a red light, like when the cars are stopped, and they'll go diagonal across the red light, across all the incoming traffic and everyone just diagonal. That happens like once a week also. And I don't know, that maybe it's a separate conversation for another day, but it would be great if we could figure out how to reach some of those folks and encourage them not to break the traffic laws. Thank you.
Yes.
Councilwoman Hurtag.
I just wanted to have Mr. Bide, he had his camera on because he's got some really exciting news about Vision Zero. I think that's the reason he popped on.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I mean, the Vision Zero News is a grant that we just won $20 million, which will, to Ruth Kate's point, and thank you so much, Major Kate, for mentioning infrastructure. We will be able to deploy more bicycle infrastructure. As far as bicycle behavior and as far as accommodation of bicyclists, some of the challenges that we see, and I say this as a bicyclist myself, is a lack of infrastructure. And so it's not just on the bicyclists always, it's an awareness and education on everyone's part, but we are working towards getting more and more bicycle infrastructure and more crosswalks and more opportunities to improve safety on our roadways, beginning with our underserved communities. Zip codes 33607, 33605, 33603. That's where we're going to focus a lot of our projects. So just wanted to add that.
Councilwoman Hurtag.
Thank you for that. And then my question, or my comment, is actually probably directed to both of you at this point. And you mentioned several times educating both bicyclists and drivers. And I think that we need, now that we are developing more of a bike culture and we're finding people using bikes to get around, it might be a good time to work together to create some programs to remind people how to ride a bike safely. One new thing is the ear pods that have popped up that I see people on bikes wearing all the time, wildly dangerous. But also the cars just not yielding, not giving way to bicyclists. So I think there's absolutely area that we could work on education to both areas, or both the bicyclists and car drivers. So I would really love to to talk about that in the future, seeing what we could do through TPD's communication department and the city of Tampa's overall to really focus on how we encourage both sets to get along.
Any other comments? Vic, don't leave. I want to pay you some kudos. Does a 3,000 pound hunk of metal have more rights on the road than a bicyclist? No. No, not at all. But we all need to learn the rules of the road. Vic, again, I want to thank you and your mobility staff for the Quick Build Cass Street project. Thank you there. I was there with some of your people. It is amazing what this city is doing for Vision Zero and bicyclists. We are now getting more and more bike paths. But to your point about the infrastructure, until we have those infrastructures and until people feel safe riding their bikes on the street with a barrier between them and the automobiles, bicyclists are still going to ride on the sidewalks. This subject that was brought up is about youth. And we were all young at one time with our testosterone going crazy, the male. And we all wanted to pop wheelies. Look what I can do. See what I can do. Watch what I can do. But there are people in all areas of town, Davis Island, Ybor City, downtown, where they are feeling a little threatened by these actions. And I don't feel safe driving because, God forbid, one of them falls in front of my car. So again, education is key, infrastructure is key. Bicyclists, pedestrians, and vehicles can all travel in harmony. Thank you very much. Council, it is now 11:46. Are we going to have a hard stop at 12 o'clock? Yes. Okay. There you go. Agenda item number 8, file number CM 22-73043.
Good morning, City Council. Osea Wynn, Administrator of Neighborhood and Community Affairs. You asked us to report back about the ad hoc committee for the World War II veterans that will be part of the Veterans Advisory Council. I submitted a memo, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Any comments or any questions?
Question?
Councilman Goods.
The committee, Sharisha couldn't answer yesterday. How are you gonna make up that committee? Will it be council members, a few from the mayor? How will that ad hoc be made up? Because I have a good veteran that, Mr. Melvin Collins, who does all the Memorial and Veteran Day programs, what I call over at Rest Haven, some others here on the east side, and want to make sure that folks like that who really know be a part of that committee. So what will be the makeup of it?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Councilman Goods, for that question, and maybe I wasn't clear when I was presented before. The makeup of the committee will come from members that you will submit to me, that you who are interested or you're interested in serving on the advisory council. Now, part of that carve out of the subcommittee or ad hoc committee of the advisory council will be those individuals who are interested in the World War II history, making sure we keep their stories alive, so that component of it. So yes, you will submit your names to me so that we can move forward with the advisory council.
Yes, sir. Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, thank you for following up with this and putting this together. For anybody who's watching this for the first time, before Tampa Airport, the soldiers had to go in and out of Tampa Union Station, so we want to honor them and tell their stories. My request is that we get Gary Mormino involved. He's the one that originally told me about this. He's interviewed over the years many World War II veterans who went through Tampa Union Station, and he also has researched the archives of including people who didn't return. So I think he would be a great resource there. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Vieira.
Thank you very much. And I thank Councilman Carlson for his work over here at Union Station. I think that's a wonderful project, et cetera. And I wanted to make sure, and I was a little bit confused yesterday on this. So I had done a motion for some time ago, a Veterans Advisory Board for the mayor, not unlike what we have with the African American Advisory Board, Hispanic Advisory Board. Is that what this is, or is this thing is this narrowly tailored to the WW2 Memorial?
It's morphed, Councilman
It's
Vera.
what?
It has morphed. So yes, your request was to create an advisory council like we have the other advisory councils. That is correct. But a subcomponent of this, instead of having an ad hoc that's doing similar work, a subcomponent of the Veterans Advisory Council will be those individuals who are specifically interested in the World War II portion or in any other area of interest for veterans. If we have a group, or when we have the group, if they're interested in that carve out from the advisory council, then that's the purpose they would serve.
Okay.
So it's all inclusive, but this, after I reported the first time, the request was to come back to see what are those things that we could do or put in place to have a group specifically interested in ensuring that we preserve the history and the stories of the World War II veterans.
Sure. Okay,
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
and I know, and the larger issue, I think, is coming back to us, I don't know when, but I think it's coming back to us maybe in a month or two, and whatnot. Yeah, so that's great. I mean, again, what I kind of envision with this is not unlike the Mayor's Disability Alliance, things like that, so that they can help lead veteran endeavors, patriotic endeavors within the city. And then there's a lot of ceremonies and days that a lot of people don't think about, like Purple Heart Day, how to properly honor Memorial Day. For example, I would love to see a committee that helps talk to local businesses in the city of Tampa saying, damn it, don't do Memorial Day sales, don't celebrate Memorial Day. Memorial Day is a solemn day,
Yes.
and things like that. I would love to see, pardon my language, but I would love to see things like that. So so that's great. So I know the larger one's coming back, but I'm glad they're focusing on this, because again, I thank the councilman for his work on this, because I think this is a magnificent thing for Union Station, and the whole restoration of Union Station, et cetera, I think is a great thing. And as on the larger issue, you know, it's so close to the George Edgecombe Courthouse, and it can really be a great place where attorneys, in between their many hearings, if they're doing them live and not by Zoom, and I hate Zoom court hearings, but if they're doing them live, that they can go and hang out at the Union Station or whatever, then come back and, you know, do court. So thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Maniscalco.
I appreciate all the comments, and thank you to Councilman Carlson for bringing this up. I don't have to say it because we know it, but you know, this is the greatest generation that we're talking about, and they're called that for a reason. And sadly, I wish we would have done this sooner, because all the World War II vets except one have passed away. And they would have loved to have been part of this. And the stories that they tell, one of them was at Drew Field, others shipped out through Union Station, ended up in the Pacific, on and on and on. But I'm glad that we brought this up. I'm glad Councilman Carlson brought this up, because you think about how old are the youngest World War II veterans? Born in 1927, 1928. The war was over by 45, but then you had there was a gentleman that passed away in the last year who was in Germany in 1946. So when you had like Berlin airlift and stuff, and he had a great story to tell. And unfortunately, he passed away. So time is of the essence, because we're losing these veterans rapidly every single day. When I was a kid growing up, anybody that was older, let's say my grandparents' generation, they were all World War II vets or Korean War veterans. And the younger guys were the Vietnam guys. Now the Vietnam vets, they're getting up there. And I'm glad that as I've gotten older, I've learned to appreciate them more and listen to their stories, because once you lose them, you lose them. Councilmember Vieira and I were lucky enough twice to meet Woody Williams, who passed away in the last year out of West Virginia, and he was the last Medal of Honor recipient from World War II for his actions on Iwo Jima. If you don't know Woody Williams, the great American hero, not named Audie Murphy. And, you know, again, he passed away, but we're losing them daily. And again, time is of the essence, but I'm glad that we're bringing this up and we're continuing to honor these individuals and making them a part of our story and telling that story. Thank you.
Councilman Goods.
I want to make sure I got this right. I thought we were looking at areas in different sections of the city to honor veterans.
That's part of it, too. That's why I said it more.
Yeah, because we have Korean War, different wars. That's what I thought. It wasn't specific for World War II, but it's going to be for veterans.
So, Councilman Goods, so last week we were before you, and we reported when Sharisha Hills and I, Director Hills and I reported on the projects. One of the projects that we reported on was establishing veterans memorials in each council district. So yes, that's part of it too. When I said it morphed, we have different angles that we're looking at to make sure that we look at Tampa Union Station. We make sure we're looking at those World War II veterans, ensuring that the stories are not lost. So yeah, it's all inclusive. So
I used to
you
want a
are
Korean
correct.
War veteran. So, well, why you doing? If it's a memorial for veterans, I'm just thinking that it's a memorial for veterans.
Right.
you
So
know?
yes, sir.
Councilman Miranda.
Regarding the train operation at the Union Station has been brought up 2 or 3 times. And again, I want to go back in history and thank the Greco administration for in the 90s doing complete renovation of it. What you see there now is what was done, and that was 95, 96, 97 era. So you're looking at about 35 years ago. And these are the things that we forget. When you have a building and it's there and it's just there and nobody maintains it the way it should be, that's when you have to redo it again. But thank you very much to the old administration, going back to Dick Rickle.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Carlson, this was your motion. Does this report satisfy you?
May I?
Yes, ma'am.
So
Ms. Nguyen.
my final ask of you is if you have any names of anyone, please send them to me so I can make sure that everyone's represented on the advisory council.
Councilman Vieira.
Thank you. I mean, the one, and I know we all know him, and Colonel DJ Reyes, who's the head mentor in the Veterans Treatment Court. I mean, I can get you his information and whatnot. He serves with a lot of good veterans there, including, by the way, Keith Poynter, who's Stephanie Poynter's husband, is also a mentor there. He was a lieutenant colonel. And I mean, that's, and two things, if I may, which is number one, Councilman Goods brings up something very important, which is to make, and obviously everyone knows this, to get all over the city, all different backgrounds, et cetera, just a good guy to start with. I call him the Hawaiian Captain America, and I think he'd be a good guy to start with. Thank you.
Sir.
Melvin Collins. Melvin Collins.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you, Ms. Nguyen.
Yes, sir.
All right, we are at that time where we'll be taking lunch. However, when we come back at 1:30, we are going to hear agenda item number 95. That is a 1:30, but it just will take a few seconds, and I believe that is going to be withdrawn, but we just have to hear from public comment. Until then, we are adjourned at 1:30.